Just a Rinnegan? That's not enough. I want the Tenseigan too. Hey. Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 351. Did the sea tribe do anything excessive to the people on the seashore? Marshal Li replied, that's not it, it's just harassing fishermen fishing, and it makes strange noises at night, making people unable to sleep. Yuanjie pondered, it seems that the other party has room for it, and it is not so excessive. It's just that Zheng Yun is doing this for what purpose? Yuanjie did not immediately go to the sea area to ask for guilt. He can't beat the other party now. If he goes, he will most likely be left behind. You said bring Yuanjie? Then forget it. This little old man can't wait to hold his great-grandson as soon as possible, and he will definitely sell Brother Ji with a smile. Zheng Yun's advance aside, the next work, the most important thing is the National Joint Examination. The National Joint Examination has been held for 7 sessions, and now the entire Langsing is the territory of the Sharingan dynasty, which can be described as a great undertaking. There were some minor situations in the national examination last year, and this year we must not repeat them. Now, the hidden door that came out later is gradually integrated into this new era. As the cultivation of the family improved, their advantages soon disappeared. Moreover, their number is only a few thousand, which is simply not enough compared to the millions of people of the family. In the Sharingan dynasty, it is forbidden to kill people casually, and everything is explicitly prohibited. As soon as someone does not comply, only the sanctions of the imperial court await them. If the cultivation is lower, Marshal Li and their army can handle it, and once it exceeds the Huazhen realm, it is Yisuking's job. However, nothing happened in recent years, so Yisuking, she lost her job. She was suddenly a little confused. What should she do when she came to this world, right? You can't make children every day, so won't you become a simple fertility tool? For women who have always been independent, Yisuking urgently needs nothing to do. On this day, she heard that there were sirens on the beach. Therefore, she did not tell Yuanjie and directly killed it single-handedly. Zhongping Ocean Sea Bold Octopus Monster, how dare you bully my fisherman? Death? Yisuking just came, she saw Chang Wei calling Leifu, she was overjoyed. Isn't this coming to live? I saw that she summoned a huge whale from ancient times. For mortals, 8-clawed octopuses are extremely huge creatures, and suddenly a monster that is dozens of circles larger than an octopus suddenly frightened. However, they soon discovered that there was a beautiful woman in a black and gold robe flying in the air, seemingly not hostile to her. It didn't take long for the octopus to be eaten clean by whales. You're safe. Everyone was so frightened that their legs trembled, and they hurriedly knelt down to thank them. Thank you Shankson for rescuing. Yisuking took out his magic staff and swiped it in front of the ship, and a spatial crack instantly appeared. Go back, pay attention later. Yisuking used spells to slowly push the ship into the void. The fishermen on the boat were dark in front of them, and when they opened their eyes, they found that they had returned to the sea. What is cultivation? They were horrified. Yisuking's current cultivation is the 8th order of the God King realm, which is 2 orders higher than Yuanjie's. Although she did not have a system, her special physique determined that her cultivation speed had advanced by leaps and bounds. Usually, if a cultivator breaks through so quickly, there will be a situation where the foundation is unstable. Even if Yuanjie reaches the later stage, he drinks it every time. But she won't. Yuanjie asked her what was going on, but she didn't know what to say. Anyway, it's a good thing she didn't pay attention to it. In the deep sea, Zheng Yun received a report from his subordinates that someone was slaughtering the creatures of the Sea Clan. As soon as the corners of her mouth hooked, she knew that he would come. The people of the Sharingan dynasty are his weaknesses, and he deliberately finds fault, but he is only frightened, not excessive. The two can have the opportunity to meet, cultivate feelings by the way, and if the other party has their own psychology, they will not blame her too much. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Zheng Yun didn't know why, but he couldn't forget Yuanjie. Maybe it's because she doesn't admit defeat psychologically, Because she has grown up since she was a child, no matter what she wants, her father will do his best to satisfy her. For the first time since she grew so old, she was rejected and was very upset. She doesn't admit defeat and wants to get him no matter what. Then he was ruthlessly abandoned. Ha ha ha. As soon as she thought of this, her psychology was very happy. However, when she flew out of the sea, she saw Yisuking. She frowned and asked very unexpectedly, "Why you?" Yisuking tilted her head and said puzzled, "Why can't it be me? Who do you think is coming?" Then, her eyes became strange. "Are you waiting for him?" Zhengyun didn't reply, but her expression already had the answer written on her face. Yisuking sneered. As a woman, she naturally knew what crooked idea the other party had fought. Although she put down the mustard, it does not mean that she can allow any woman to join the harem. Especially people like Zhengyun, who don't know where to come. That's right, Zhengyun is extremely beautiful. Even Yisuking's heart beats faster when he sees it, and his cultivation is profound, and his physique does not look simple. However, her behavior is very inexplicable, and she suddenly entangled her family father-in-law. What is the reason? Thinking of this, Yisuking tightened the black staff in his hand. The corner of Zhengyun's mouth smiled dismissively. "How, do you want to fight me?" She is only one step away from being promoted to the flying immortal realm, while the other party only has the 8th order of the God King realm. "We have no grudges, I just hope that you stay away from my husband in the future," Yisuking said coldly. "Oh, who do you think you are? Let me not go to him without going to him? Think beautiful." "Okay then," Yisuking said no more. She held the staff in both hands and inserted the staff. At this time, heaven and earth suddenly changed, and Zhengyun's eyes lost light for a moment and fell into boundless darkness. Great dark sky, it was indeed darkness, not a trace of light could penetrate in, and she couldn't see her 5 fingers, and even Yisuking, who was standing in front of her, couldn't see it. This move Great Dark Sky is the divine domain that Yisuking God King realm comprehends. Not only can the opponent lose their target and fall into confusion, but it can also blast the attributes of spiritual objects, such as attack power and speed. 100 Ghost Sneak. This is a special skill that she learned after she was promoted to the mortal realm. Zhengyun felt the yin wind around him, and faintly discordant sounds surrounded his ears. Suddenly, a miserable white face appeared in front of her, so close that she screamed in fright. "What the hell is this skill?" Zhengyun patted his chest in fear. "But, do you think these ghosts just come out scary? Then you are very wrong. These ghosts are all ghosts that can kill people, and they have endless resentment." A scythe slashed at Zhengyun's head. Ding! The true dragon protective body surrounding Zhengyun's body blocked this blow. She was angry and wanted to play with each other. Unexpectedly, people came really. She opened her mouth and let out a low and distant dragon groan, shocking all the cows, ghosts, snakes and gods around her. Chapter 352. At the same time, Zhengyun turned on the dragon yin night walk and disappeared into the void. Her figure was erratic, and besides that, her eyes seemed to turn on the infrared rays and locate the other party's position at once. Huh? Yisuking felt the danger. She turned slightly sideways and dodged the fatal blow. She put on the white armor of the giant beast of the Dharma heaven and earth, and picked up the red azure and knife defensing the other party. What? It can actually be comparable to the strength of my true dragon body. Who is she? Zhengyun became more and more confused. Yisuking took a step back. She raised the red azure knife above her head and shouted, "One sword Shiro, the red glow of the sky even illuminates this darkness." I saw that behind her, there was a giant beast dressed in white armor like her, doing the same movement. One cut. Chop down. This piece of heaven and earth was even split into the void crack. You can imagine how amazing the power is. Zhengyun was helpless, so he had to transform his true body and use a powerful true dragon body to resist this move. However, her dragon body was still left with mottled blood. She was furious, and the place where she cut happened to be her proud chest. Die! Zhengyun dragon body soared into the air, and a heavy black cloud suddenly formed in the sky. Among the black clouds, lightning and thunder are endless. Is it raining? Yisuki narrowed her eyes. She spread her black wings and flew into the air to fight the other party. Her dexterous position dodged the heavenly thunder, and if she was not careful, she would probably disappear. At this time, more than a dozen scales broke away from Zhengyun's body, and in a moment turned into a real dragon. It really answered the poem. The golden scale is a thing in the pool, and when it meets the storm, it turns into a dragon. Yisuking showed disdain. and snorted coldly, "Do you fight more and less? Sorry, so will I." So, she split the heaven and earth and summoned a total of 60 characters such as kicking. Zheng Yun was stunned. "Good guy, are you a little too much? Summon 60 God King realm spirit objects at once, to fight more and less, right?" She hurriedly shook the dragon body, calling the wind and rain, and letting the rain erode one spiritual object after another. However, strong as Keking, Hu Tao, Zhongli, these 5-star characters, fearless of acid rain. Holding a spear, Hu Tao turned on the other side of the butterfly dance state, and took the lead in rushing towards a real dragon transformed from dragon scales. HMPH, hey, the spear is like a dragon, shuttling through the enemy, carrying dazzling red flames, leaving brilliant fireworks in the air. It didn't take long for the true dragon to be burned by a move of a mysterious method. Eat and drink, go all the way. With the last shot, Hu Tao passed through the dragon body and hurriedly braked with her left foot. She looked back, and the dragon body turned into a piece of dragon scales and returned to Zheng Yun's body. She couldn't help but wrinkle her eyebrows, because she saw that the dragon scale turned into a real dragon and flew out. "Master Mother, if we continue to fight like this, it will not be good for us." Yu Suking listened to Hu Tao's report, and she said in a deep voice, "I know, Yinglong is indeed the first of the 5 divine beasts, and his strength is extraordinary. You can't fight like this, you have to amplify the move." She actually didn't want to use that move. After all, she was going against the sky and forcibly summoning the other party's bloodline ancestor to the void. It will break her life. She doesn't like it. Because in this way, one less day of life, one less day of staying with Xiaoji. But in the current situation, she had to use it. She sighed and quickly froze, and the black staff levitated in front of her, flashing with multicolored black. "With my blood recommend the ancestors." Finally, the magic seal formed, condensed a drop of essence blood from her chest, and a general trend descended from the sky, shaking both sides apart. Who summoned the main palace? A nobleman dressed in a magnificent phoenix crown descended from the sky. Her physique is extremely beautiful, enchanting and dignified. "Queen Mother," Zheng Yun's eyes widened. She didn't know why Empress Zheng Chen came. Bad? Is this going to catch her back? Huh? Zheng Chen's eyes narrowed, and he instantly found his daughter, who was a little embarrassed at the moment. "Yuner, your father has been looking for you for many years, and he couldn't imagine that he would be so downcast in the nether here." Zheng Yun immediately gave up resistance, and she saluted, "Meet the Queen Mother." "Oh, you still think that this palace is your Queen Mother?" Zheng Yun's head lowered, and she stammered and replied, "Don't dare, go back with the main palace, and get married as soon as possible." Hearing this, Zheng Yun's eyes became firm, and she raised her head and bit her lower lip and said angrily, "No, I am determined not to marry Xiaodian." Zheng Chen looked at her with interest, gently lifted her chin, and said softly, "Obedient, Xiaodian is the son of Heavenly Emperor Taihao, with a noble status and noble bloodline. It is your blessing that you can marry him." "Nope. I've never seen him." "Why do you want me to marry him? Why don't you arrange the marriage of the second sister and the Phoenix daughter?" "Oh, you kid." Zheng Chen shook her head helplessly. She twisted her orchid finger gently. Zheng Yun changed back into a human body, and was imprisoned. "The situation in the upper realm is unclear, and your father's arrangement for you to marry is a helpless move. What parent doesn't want their children to be happy? Taiheo's party is strong and has a tough style, and your father and emperor are about to be unable to support it." Hearing this heartfelt words of the Queen Mother, a line of tears overflowed from the corner of Zheng Yun's eyes. She was just a child, and she didn't understand the struggle between adults. "I don't even understand, why do adults fight around, and use their children as chips in exchange for a balance of interests? Is it fair to her? The emperor has a group of wives and concubines, not to mention that there are not 100,000, there are tens of thousands, and if he marries himself, he will not get grace at all, and people may try to be fresh for a while, and attack you on the first night, but what about the back?" Zheng Yun can already imagine a cold life in the future. "Queen Mother, in fact, I already have someone I like. I have to marry him." Zheng Zhenliu frowned slightly. How can he still find true love in the next world? "Are you kidding me? This palace warned you in advance that the despicable bloodline of the Nether Realm is not allowed to enter the gate of the Eastern Emperor Tai. Don't even think about it, if you are broken. The main palace has its own way to help you fix it." Zheng Yun said eagerly, "It's not the inferior Terran race you imagined, he is the heir of the Yuan family of the Upper Realm emerging god race." "Yuan family?" Zheng Chen fell into hesitation. She thought to herself, now that the Yuan family is the object of the two major forces of the Eastern Divine Court in the Upper Realm, if your daughter can marry into the Yuan family, it will not be a good thing. If he can get the support of the strong Yuan family, in this way, the Eastern Emperor Tai may be able to win the selection of the new Heavenly Emperor and become the indispensable person of the Eastern Divine Court. However, she then thought that she had never heard that the Yuan family had any remnants in the Nether. As we all know, the Yuan family is not a native of the Upper Realm god race, but has soared up from the Nether Realm and killed its prestige step by step. Who is that heir of the Yuan family mentioned in the daughter's mouth? You shouldn't be cheating on Honggu, right, Queen Mother? How dare your sons and daughters lie to you? The person I like is called Yuanjie. He has a pair of reincarnation pupils. Compared to the Yuanshan of the Upper Realm, it is not far behind. The second half of the sentence was not too much. Zheng Chen automatically ignored. What a stunning and talented character Yuanshan is. How can he be compared with him? I am against this marriage. Ye Suking, who was standing behind, gritted her teeth and said, damn, it turns out that this little nizzy wants to use her husband as a shield. Do you dream you? Chapter 353. Zheng Chen only then found the person behind her, and she turned around lightly, her expression cold. Who are you? But she was surprised to find that she couldn't have any murderous intentions on the other party. Could it be that she is the one who summoned herself? Cross-border summoning, such means, even in the Upper Realm, are incredible. I am the right wife of the Yuanjie, she said. Ye Suking. Zheng Chen turned around and glared at his daughter. The right wife is here. Looking at this look, the probability is that the right wife does not agree with you to marry in. Why do you have to be affectionate? At the same time, her heart is very unhappy. Her daughter can marry your Yuan family. It is a blessing that your Yuan family can't ask for by burning high incense. You actually don't know how to dislike it? HMPH, Zheng Chen snorted coldly in dissatisfaction. Ye Suking didn't care about her attitude. My husband has never had an ambiguous heart for Zheng Yun, and she wants to marry my husband, but it's just wishful thinking. Zheng Chen's dissatisfaction in his heart is even worse. This seems to be my daughter's fault, deliberately seducing your family husband, right? Zheng Yun said, unconvinced. Is it true or not? You let Yuanjie come over. Let's ask him in person. I don't think it's needed. My opinion is his opinion. I don't approve of you. Even if he has feelings for you, you can't marry in. At this moment, Ye Suking regained her majesty as a mother. Zheng Yun was so anxious that she was about to cry. She didn't expect the other party to be so messy. So what if the Queen Mother listened to the other party's words and turned around and took herself away? She really doesn't want to marry Xiaodian, and she doesn't want to die. Yuanjie can be said to be her last hope. She would rather marry Yuanjie, can accept the classic bridge of marriage first and then love, and I run away from him, but once she enters the door of Xiaodian's family, what greets her will be a hopeless future. However, Zheng Yun did not think about why Yuanjie should be responsible for her life. The two of them have no emotional basis. Even, the kind that has no emotion at all. In the final analysis, she just wants to use him to escape the family marriage, or in other words, because she was rejected by Yuanjie, she is unwilling and just wants to take him down to prove herself. That's all. Good, Ye Suking smiled quietly, confronting her. She knew her husband too well. She knows his strengths. He knows her depths. The two have been a close couple for 2 lifetimes. How can you, the little monster who came out halfway, be able to shake? Ye Suking picked up the black staff and swiped into the void. When Zheng Chen saw the wand in her hand, his pupils suddenly shrank. Come here, something is looking for you. Yuanjie was in the Imperial study at this time to correct the turns, and suddenly noticed that a void crack that Ye Suking could only cut appeared in front of him, and after hearing the call, he stepped in without hesitation. What's wrong? Wife, have you encountered any difficulties? Ye Suking raised her chin, pointed at the Zhengchen mother and daughter opposite with a black staff, and spoke. Oh, that sister in front said that she would marry you. Are you willing to marry her? Yuanjie followed his gaze and noticed Zheng Yun at a glance. And the graceful and luxurious young woman standing beside her looked 7 points similar to her. Probably guessing that it was Yinglong Zhengchen. He did not make a number of faux pas, and saluted. See God, the dragon is the totem of Huaxia, and as the mother of the dragon clan, Zhengchen is worthy of this worship. Zheng Chen's gaze was still in the black wand in Ye Suking's hand, and she was suddenly poked by her daughter. She came back to her senses and replied casually, hello, hello. When she focused on Yuanjie, Her heart beat faster, and she could see it at a glance. This son is really extraordinary. Such as the heirs of the Yuan family who are fake. Moreover, it is still the kind with extremely pure bloodlines. If he had the opportunity to ascend to the upper realm, he would definitely be valued by the Yuan god. Do you like me? Zheng Yun asked in a nervous whisper. Yuanjie shook his head gently. Although you look beautiful, but I'm sorry, you are a good person. My kind of rural wild man is not your good person. We are not suitable. Zheng Yun heard a broken voice in her heart, and she cried urgently. Why? Why do you think I'm good looking, and you still don't like me? Yuanjie replied to her calmly. Two people together, if they only take people by their appearance, it is a very superficial thing. You and I are the daughter of God, and I, just the son of heaven on earth. If we are together, we will not be blessed by the people around us and will not be happy. Brother Ji made a little excuse and rejected her. The corner of Zheng Chen's mouth said playfully, I am her mother, so what if I get my blessing? Bad? Someone is deliberately looking for fault. Strong twisted melon, not sweet, Yuanjie said without humility. In this matter of feelings, two people need to be heart to heart to be happy. If it is the order of the parents, the words of the matchmaker, and the forced children to marry, the end can only end in dismal. Zheng Chen knew that the other party was pointing at saying why, and she snorted coldly, sharp teeth and sharp mouth. Zheng Yun lowered her head. She knew that she was most likely going to marry Shaodian. But she was not convinced. Why? Why would Yuanjie rather marry a mortal woman and not look at her as the daughter of the divine dragon? Where the hell can't you compare to that mist? And the woman in black in front of you. Looking at the intimate appearance of the two of them, she hated it. She hated him. She hates them too. She hates herself even more. Why are they free to choose their own happiness? And she has to carry a family mission? Everyone is a woman. What is the difference between them? Why is their fate different from their own? At this moment, Zheng Yun felt infinite sadness in his heart. Why was he born in the so-called primeval god race? How she wished that she was just a child of an ordinary family, at least having the right to freely choose happiness. Zheng Yun's life is indeed pitiful, and Yuanjie also sympathizes with her. But the little thing of feelings is not more pitiful than anyone. How many people have a past that they can't look back on, or are about to embrace a dark future? Yet these lives are just yours and only yours. You can't hold others hostage because they sympathize with you and so morally have to help you. Yuanjie didn't know that the other party already hated him. He was just doing what he felt he should do. Let's go, Zheng Chen sighed. Until now she still can't understand. In fact, it is her daughter who thinks too much. But because of her identity, she is not good at speaking. After all, Dong Huangtai still has to win over the Yuan family in the upper realm. If she puts a cruel word in the lower realm, and sues after Yuanjie goes up, then won't the two sides be settled? She will not do anything that is not conducive to her own development. Zheng Yun was taken away by his mother like a walking corpse. However, before leaving, Zheng Chen suddenly turned back to Yi Suking and asked, Who are you from Hades? Yi Suking and Yuanjie didn't understand what it meant. Zheng Chen smiled indifferently and turned to leave. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be her. Chapter 354. It's over, go back, Yi Suking answered, then raised her head to look at him, and suddenly laughed. I thought you would be tempted. Yuanjie was speechless. What is this temptation not tempting? She is the daughter of the dragon, and she has a great identity. How? You don't want to be a dragon knight? Yi Suking gave a provocative look. No, it's already my best to feed you, HMPH, it's like that. No going to bed tonight. Yi Suking deliberately did not look over, and the corners of his mouth hooked an imperceptible smile. Yuanjie grabbed her and said loudly, Okay, take a vacation tonight and take a break. Yi Suking snorted, You are not allowed to rest, don't put it on the table. It's urgent, someone is in a hurry, ha ha ha. Yuanjie quickly ran away. Yi Suking chased after him, blushing and shouting, Yuanjie, you are looking for death, who do you say is in a hurry? The two went back playing along the way, but no one was convinced, and they had to fight for 300 rounds to prove who was right and who was wrong. In the end, it ended dismally with Brother Ji surrendering his gun. A new national examination has begun. In the last session, due to some families having internal ghosts in the imperial court, the exam questions were leaked, but fortunately they were discovered early and did not cause a big mistake. However, this tumultuous operation caused the reputation of the Sharingan dynasty to be greatly reduced, which was irreparable. This exam, Yuanjie personally checked. from the question, to the encapsulation, and then arrange the members of the SYO organization and the wheel tomb-side prison doppelganger, distributed in each examination room, open the white eyes to catch the cheating candidates. This time, the anti-theft and anti-cheating measures can be described as the strictest in history. The year before last, Zhongshu, who was in charge of the National Joint Examination, made Lu Yuanjian scolded bloody and almost resigned. Fortunately, Yuanjie gave him a chance to make meritorious contributions. For Emperor Yuan's renewed trust, Lu Yuanjian was moved to tears and swore to eliminate the trend of cheating, and return to Guangzhou. After so many years of development, the National Joint Examination has long been on the right track. Not only are multiple cameras installed in the examination room, but there are also patrols and checks by strong people above the true transformation realm. The mistake of the year before last actually had a lot to do with the inner ghost. Among them, the initiator is the Jingchang royal family. That's right, it's Wang Qing's family. Originally, after Wang Qing's sacrifice, Yuanjie began to support them intentionally or unintentionally. Unexpectedly, they were still not satisfied and wanted to get more say in the imperial court. Secretly bought the person in charge of the Jingchang examination room and most of the staff. If it weren't for the group of staff who did not receive benefits to report it, the imperial court really did not know about it. You can imagine how much the power of the family has penetrated. Yuanjie was angry and took back all the benefits of the Wang family. Even their transportation industry is owned by the national government. This was the first case in the Sharingan dynasty. The Wang family fell, but it shocked other families and hidden doors, which can be described as killing chickens and monkeys. The national examination lasted only 3 days and ended quickly. When the admission results came in, strange things happened. The proportion of people in this exam is actually 70% of the children of large families. In the past, this was very unscientific. Yuanjie carefully analyzed a wave of admission records from previous years. He found that in the first national examination, the acceptance rate for civilians was as high as 90%. And then gradually decreased. This is only the 8th year, how can it suddenly drop to 30%? If this continues, the court of the Sharingan dynasty will be the same as the previous dynasty, and the family will do whatever it wants. Officials in the imperial court, commoners and families must strike a certain balance. Shongshuling Changsan Ming spoke, Emperor Yuan, could it be related to the national government's vigorous support for commerce? Yuanjie frowned and said suspiciously, business? Business has little to do with civilians. Big industries are basically concentrated in the hands of large families. Changsan Ming shook his head and said, no, it's because most of the people have gone out to do business, or set up stalls or open shops, resulting in no one cultivating the fields at home, and the civilians can't spare time, or in other words, they plan to farm in this life. Zhongshuling Lu Yuanjian echoed, yes, there is also the most fundamental reason that commoners and the children of the family receive different education. The children of the family have money and can hire better teachers, while the common people can only rely on the local public schools. One-on-one tutoring and one-to-many are essentially gaps. Finally, I want to say that the children of civilian families, unlike the children of the family, do not have time to study, which is true. Yuanjie suddenly remembered his previous life, and the teacher gap in education had a huge impact. A good teacher can analyze the direction of the question, and even accurately bet on the real question. In fact, in the final analysis, this is a problem that extends from the continuous progress of society. Cold, it's really hard to get out of noble sons again. What do you guys aching propose? Strengthen the construction of colleges in various places, and the national government will subsidize students from the cold. Lu Yuanjian thought for a while and said, also, the questioners should also be rotated. I have been checking the past exam questions these days and found a very serious problem. The direction of the questions has tended to be fixed, which is very different from the first national joint examination, which was personally thought of by the Emperor Yuan. Today, it's just being true to theory, not giving practice. Let me give you an example. Everyone knows about the spring and autumn harvest of rice, but if the real rice plant is placed in front of the candidates, I can guarantee that 90% of the children of the family do not know it. Our Sharingan dynasty wants talents who can do things, not people who only talk on paper, theorize one after another, but are empty-handed when it comes to practice. Yuanjie felt that it made sense, and he nodded. Shongshuling Changsan Ming added, there is also a way of discussing the topic, hoping to use the form of the vernacular, rather than the current one, which is useless except to appear profound. Candidates can't even understand the questions, so what's the point of the exam? I suggest that the assessment similar to the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Engineering should be added to the hands-on assessment like the military department and counted in the total score. In this way, we can maximize the selection of candidates who can do things and which blows theory. The three discussed for a long time and finally formulated a series of reform measures. At this time, Yi Suking walked in with a fruit bowl, and Shang Xinming and Lu Yuannian, the two prime ministers of the dynasty, hurriedly saluted. "Meet the queen." Yi Suking nodded, then looked at Yuanjie and asked, "Husband, what are you discussing here?" On the issue of the national joint examination, I found that recently there are so many private students who have been referencing, but few have been admitted. I fear that it will dampen their enthusiasm in the future. Yi Suking peeled an orange and then put it in Yuanjie's mouth. "It's not easy. At that time, you will set up some positions separately, only allowing civilian status reference, similar to the previous undergraduate and junior college application thresholds." Yuanjie's eyes lit up. "Yes, this method is very good. It not only ensures the acceptance rate of civilian children, but also solves the problem that some positions, and the children of the family find that they can't do anything after employment. The most important thing is that the initiative is not on the hands of the family, but everything is in the hands of the imperial court." Chapter 355. Regarding the reform of the national joint examination, a series of policies were immediately announced by the Yuan dynasty. On the day after the end of the examination, only civilian posts will be temporarily added. The commoner children cheered, but the face on the side of the family was not very good looking. "Where can't they smell the unusual? Emperor Yuan, this is suppressing our family." "That's right, now the children of the imperial court family account for 67%. Far better than the children of the commoners. I know that the Yuan emperor is anxious, but if we do this, will it live up to our long-term efforts? If you do this, or don't go, let those untouchables be public servants." No matter how times change, the sense of superiority of the family has never disappeared. A series of reform regulations issued by the Yuan dynasty were all beneficial to the commoners, and although the family was unhappy, they did not dare to beat more. Because today is different. In the era of the previous dynasty, the strength of the imperial court on the surface was very weak. There were only 6 gods, and the others were either hidden or stood idly by. However, now, the Sharingan dynasty has an army of tens of billions, of which there are as many as 1 million strong people whose strength is in the transformation true realm, and countless strong people who have returned to the mortal realm and below. Compared with the combat power of the family, they really don't look enough. The Sharingan dynasty can now be said to have truly reached the most heyday of centralization in history. Not only makes the cautious family jealous, but the people are even more peaceful. What chickens and dogs no longer happen, truly reach the realm of universal harmony. Sharingan dynasty capital, Xianjing. Today is National Day, and the most lively place in the world is the national capital Xianjing. Every day, the Sharingan dynasty will grant amnesty to the world. The so-called amnesty is simply the distribution of red envelopes. Not only broadcast a performance party live on the video platform of the Huangfu family, but also sent red envelopes on social platforms. Almost every civilian can draw 100 gold spirit coins, and if you are diligent, you can get more money when you go out and walk around on this day. Of course, the current price must not be compared with 8 years ago when Yuanjie just awakened his physique. Back then, when Brother G went out to eat a bowl of ramen, it was only 50 copper spirit coins, but now the price is 120 copper spirit coins. There is an increase, but not much. Everything benefited from the imperial court's control of market prices. People's wages have risen nearly 100 times compared to 8 years ago, but prices have only risen 2 to 5 times. It is difficult to see the scene of zoom and wine smells of flesh, and the road has frozen bones. As long as you are not too lazy, you can eat well and sleep well. The house price is not high. An ordinary school teacher can buy a 100 square meter suite with a month's salary, and if you work hard for a year, you can live in a small villa. Unlike in the previous life, Langsing is truly a big earth. Even if the Sharingan dynasty has a population of 100 billion, the undeveloped area is as much as 70%. Today is National Day, and Liv came to the temple of Lin alone to pray. I hope that Brother G can be healthy and happy for a lifetime. She knelt reverently in front of the Buddha, prostrated 3 times, and then offered incense money. She knew that she and Yuanjie would not have the opportunity to be together in this life. What did it matter? Sometimes the Son of God in heaven can be admired and not necessarily accompanied. Liv closed the pharmacy 2 years ago because of the large number of people, including some mouthful matchmakers. She is also a first-class beauty in the mortal world. Although she is not tall, she is better than petite and cute. It's just that her heart has long been filled with that man, so she is annoyed by the group of matchmakers who have nothing to do. So, she simply closed the pharmacy and moved to the wilderness by herself. Planting flowers, weeding, or going up a mountain to collect herbs every day. The days are ordinary and there are no waves, but it is the life she wants to live. She waited for Yuanjie for 6 years in the house left by her grandmother, and finally did not wait for him to come for a second meal. Liv still habitually added an extra bowl to his meal, thinking that if he came suddenly, he would be able to eat it immediately. It's time to eat, Brother Jay. Liv smiled at the empty spot. If others see it, they may think that there is something wrong with her spirit, right? When she is idle, she embroidered a one-to-one restored doll, and she likes to sleep at night. Liv was unfortunate, becoming an orphan at the age of 3 and living with her grandmother ever since, and when she was 20 years old, her grandmother was gone. Now she is 27 years old and still single. In this world, for women, it is a normal phenomenon. Fortunately, the laws of the heavenly Dao are gradually being repaired, and the children born later have brought more handles. The ratio of men to women of the younger generation has begun to develop in the direction of 5 to 5. Because her family died at an early age, she was no longer affected by her family and suffered from urging marriage. If your grandmother were still alive, she would definitely not be able to stand it, and arrange for her to marry off as soon as possible. With her filial character, she should be compromised, right? It's a pity that there is no if. Gone is gone. She is now alone. No one can control her life anymore. Her life is up to herself. She was still having that unrealistic dream, which she could dream about every night. Only in the middle of the night could she be with him. Upper realm, since Zhengyuan was taken away by her mother Zhengchen, she has been locked in a room full of prohibitions, and she is not allowed to go anywhere. Negative emotions of despair, helplessness, and pain are everywhere. Why? Why do I have to marry? Zhengyun has tried to struggle, tried to resist. But in the hands of her unfathomable father, Emperor Dong Huangte, she is an ant. She hated this hateful world, hated her parents, hated the entire family, and hated that one man. You obviously have a chance to save me from fire and water. Why do you watch me fall into the abyss, Yuanjie? You are so ruthless. Hello cold. You are so cruel. She hates Yuanjie more than she hates her family. Have you ever experienced the sense of despair of being ruthlessly abandoned when you have grasped the straw of your life? Until she was under house arrest for 3 days, the door, for the first time, opened. It was the Queen Mother Zhengchen, who brought the maid over. They were holding a gorgeous wedding dress in their hands, but the big red looked extremely ironic. Put it on, and come out. Zhengchen dropped this sentence expressionlessly, leaving the maid to help Zhengyun dress up. Good, Zhengyun replied. And then his eyes lost their brilliance, and the walking dead were controlled by the maid like a walking dead, washing and changing. She looked at the woman in the mirror who was slightly powdered, bright and bright-toothed, ice muscle and jade bones, dressed in a luxurious wedding dress, and the phoenix crown on her head was embellished with huge East China Sea dragon balls. Is this her? No, it's not me. Chapter 356. Zhengyun's eyes couldn't help but turn red. Unexpectedly, this day came after all. Perhaps this is the sadness of the women of the big family, whose fate can only be used as a bargaining chip in exchange for the interests of the family. Zhengyun lowered her head. She seemed to have accepted her fate. Covered with a red scarf, she was held by the maid and walked step by step out of the room where she had been imprisoned for 3 days. It's not long, but it's like years. As soon as she was brought back to the upper realm, she was immediately arranged for a wedding to marry off, and it can be imagined that everything was premeditated. The auspicious time has arrived. Zhengyun walked up the big red flower sedan expressionlessly, and the maid helped her pull down the curtain. Congratulations, tie your god, tie the knot with the heavenly emperor. Congratulations, 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 congratulations. Ha ha ha, it is her blessing that the little girl can marry into the emperor's mansion. Dong Huangtai laughed loudly. Fortunately, the unfilial daughter was brought back by her mother before the original scheduled marriage date. Otherwise, it would be really difficult for him to explain to the heavenly emperor Taihao. Once this marriage is messed up, his power will suffer a heavy blow and be devoured by another force. Being able to get the support of Heavenly Emperor Taiheo, Dong Huangtai felt that he would be stable in the general election a year later. The premise is that the Yuan family did not take sides. As long as they remain neutral, Dong Huangtai, the victory is in hand. Thinking of this, he raised the wine cup and found the ancestor of the Yuan family, Yuanjie, in the banquet. Brother Yuan, thank you very much for coming over to attend the wedding of the little girl and the emperor in your busy schedule. Genshin smiled slightly. He raised his glass, did not say much, and drank it all. Although his attitude was a little cold, Dong Huangtai did not dare to attack. He was very jealous of the other party's strength. That is the legendary ancient heavy pupil, which can explore all the laws of the world and see through all the origins. The most terrifying thing is that Yuanjie has not been defeated in the upper realm since he was born. When his eyes open and close, he can directly make people fall. Yuanjie and Dong Huangtai had a few drinks, and after chatting a few useless, they left the banquet. In his opinion, it is better to say that it is an intentional marriage between Lang and a concubine, rather than an exchange of interests. The Yuan family very much disagrees with this approach. Selling your children in exchange for momentary strength is not really powerful. He felt that only his family was truly strong, so strong that he did not need to be inflamed and could ignore all the laws of red dust. This is what he has pursued all his life. Therefore, the Yuan family has never engaged in the routine of marriage. After he ascended that year, he learned from his descendants that in order to maintain the stability of the family, his descendants had to marry the increasingly powerful 12 guardian spirit families, and he became angry and denounced the unscrupulous descendants. He returned to the Yuan family's station in the upper realm and rushed to the Imperial Array Pavilion. How? Has the teleportation array that communicates with the ancestral star been repaired? Since he learned from the mouth of the 783rd generation descendant son Yuanjie, the other party accidentally went to the lower realm, and on the ancestral star, there was another descendant left there. Therefore, he immediately arranged for the Imperial Array Pavilion within the clan to urgently repair the teleportation formation back then. Ancestor, I don't have a clue for the time being, because the teleportation formation is two-end, only repairing our side, and it is useless if there is no one to deal with it. Genshin frowned and asked, then is there a way for you to descend to the nether, send someone over there to fix it? It can be, but the price is a bit large. Only the Heavenly Emperor family has the ability to communicate and connect the 10,000 worlds. Can I only become a Heavenly Emperor? Genshin closed his eyes. He was thinking. He knew that in the Heavenly Emperor Taiheo mansion, there was a teleportation formation that could designate the nether to any plane. But the problem came. The Yuan family did not want to be involved with a Heavenly Emperor family. If he asks for it, the other person may make him do what he doesn't want to do. For example, taking sides to support a certain force. This is inconsistent with the Yuan family's consistent attitude of protecting one's life. No matter how much it costs, we must take them back. We, the Yuan family, will never give up on anyone. Wandering outside and homeless, Yuanjie gave a death order to everyone in the Imperial Array Pavilion. Yes, the ancestor of the Royal Array Pavilion, Yuanjie sighed. 1 day in heaven and 1 year on earth. Unknowingly, a year had passed since Lansing. This is the 9th year that Yuanjie has been in this world. And today, he's going to be a father as he wishes. He walked around the door of the dormitory anxiously, not to mention being too nervous. Although he also knows that Yu Menghan is not a mortal woman, she is a divine beast, and her physical fitness is definitely first class, and it is impossible to have an accident during childbirth. But he just couldn't stop worrying. How did it take so long, husband? Don't worry about it, it will make my heart mess. Yi Suking was not much easier than him. Yu Menghan has been inside for 10 hours, except for the screams that can be vaguely heard. Nope. I'm going to go in and accompany him. Yi Suking pulled Yuanjie, who was about to push the door in. Wait a minute, Xiaoji, didn't Sister Menghan specifically explain to you, don't go inside and look? Where has she not seen? What is there to avoid here? Obedient, Yi Suking blackened his face and shouted at him. This man will add to the chaos. At this time, suddenly the whole world changed dramatically, and where Yuanjie was standing, there was night on one side and day on the other. And, most amazingly, he walked into the dark side of the night, and the dormitory disappeared, but became a bustling street. When I stepped out again, the dormitory became desolate. Wife, Yuanjie was frightened by this drastic change in heaven and earth. Have you found anything wrong? Yusuke nodded dumbfounded. Yes, I saw it. This dormitory is built on the side of Fiyu City, which is not far from Jiangho City, and Yuanjie, who was a child, came here to pick up garbage. He even saw a child in rags in the dark of night, happily rummaging through the garbage cans with a stained face. Isn't this the past me? If the night area represents the past, then the day area does not represent the future? The scene of desolation and ruins in front of you does not indicate that the Sharingan dynasty, like the sky, will eventually be ruined? No, there seems to be a person lying not far away. Yuanjie walked in and took a look, and he was immediately startled. How could it be? However, in Yusuke's perspective, the scene he saw was different from Yuanjie's. In the dark night, she saw her in his past life on Earth, and in the day, she saw nothing? Her heart tightened, and she couldn't see anything? Do you say? We don't have a future? Wow, a loud child's cry sounded, pulling the two back to reality. When I looked again, night and day were gone, and everything returned to normal. Congratulations to Emperor Yuan, concubine Meng was born, a cute little princess. Chapter 357. Yuanjie suddenly cried with joy. He snatched the door and entered, followed by Yusuke. Emperor Yuan, the palace maid stepped forward holding a wrinkled baby, but was ignored by Yuanjie. Yusuke took it with a smile. Yuanjie ran to Yu Meng's side, and the other party smiled at him weakly. He helped her smooth the hair stuck to her face, and said distressedly, "You suffered?" Yu Meng smiled and shook her head. She didn't feel hard, she only felt that her heart was full of happiness. He didn't go to see the child for the first time, but came to see me. Yusuke held the little baby and walked over with a smile, although it was not her child, but her eyes were full of pampering. She is defenseless against children. She really likes little babies too much. You see, she's so cute. She's smiling at me. She put the baby next to Yu Meng's bed, and she herself squatted and continued to tease the child. Yuanjie and Yu Meng's gazes looked at the little baby almost at the same time and smiled at each other. Is this our child? Yes. The crystallization of our love. At this time, Yusuke opened her mouth and asked, Xiaoji, what name do you plan to choose for her? It's called Yuanqianayu, Yukianqian's Jin, Yu Meng replied in a hurrying voice. Yuanjie was stunned. Originally he thought of another name, but since the other party had already decided, then he would naturally respect Yu Meng's opinion. Okay, then it's called Yuanqianayu, Yuanqianayu, Yuanqianayu. It's quite interesting. The main meaning is good. Qianzi pins on the parents' expectations for their children, hoping that she can always be full of youthful vitality. As a grandfather, Yuanjie could not witness the birth of his great-granddaughter at this time, and he was dragged down by another hidden door of birth. This family is the Shenta family, and the sense of existence was not high in the First World War that year. If Yuanjie came over, he might let them go, and at most sign the master-servant's contract. But now they are facing Yuanjie. No one had a deeper hatred for those 9 families than Yuantian. Yuanjie, after years of going here, the previous hatred should be let go, right? The vein involved in the rebellion has long been extinguished, and you can't implicate the grudge to the next generation? Yuanjie was silent and had nothing to say to them. Put it down? You destroyed my family, and some of the things you said lightly. Don't talk nonsense, die. Before Yuanjie came, he let his grandson Yuanjie release a move of heavenly obstruction shocking star, and his tricky demon pupil had been burned in advance. So, he directly pulled down thousands of meteorites in the sky. What the hell? I blanch. The residents near Jingchang noticed this scene at the same time and were frightened. The apocalyptic horror is desperate. The sky was dark all of a sudden, and not even a little light could come in. And the Shen-Tu family, located at the center of the attack, was directly frightened, unable to even speak. The Shenta family, I'm afraid that I will be extinct today. The Shenta family master's heart was like a knife. He didn't understand, why wouldn't Yuanjie let them go? Before they entered the other space, they had already eradicated the vein of the rebellion. Why? Why doesn't he listen to us? It is they who are at fault, not themselves. Why should they pay for their own sin? Just as the so-called retribution is over, take a step back and open the sky. The Shen-Tu tribe was submerged in the meteorite rain. Yuantian's face was expressionless, and his mood at the moment was very complicated. Revenge does not bring him pleasure, only slightly makes up for the misses of the year. No matter how many traitors he kills, he can't bring his family back from the dead. They can't come back. However, it was precisely because he could not come back that he had to do it. He regretted it. At that time, his brother Yuanjie also asked him, "Do you need to stay with him?" He said very arrogantly, "No need, brother, you can go to the upper realm and wait for me at ease." It turns out that 100,000 years have passed, and it still hasn't waited. The clansmen of the Yuan family value their families very much, perhaps related to the ears and eyes of the ancestor Yuan god. After Yuanjie left, the flying tiger general of the Sharingan dynasty immediately arranged for soldiers to clean up the battlefield. Without Emperor Yuan's orders, he took the initiative to do it himself. When he came to this ruin, even though he had seen Emperor Taishang make a move many times, he still gasped. Powerful, really powerful. It's hard to imagine. Is this the power that people can do? In his heart, he couldn't help but start comparing Emperor Yuan with Emperor Taishang. I don't know who is more powerful if these two fight. Of course, he knew that they were grandfathers and grandchildren, and there could be no possibility of fighting at all. Yuanjie left Jingcheng and flew back to Xianjing non-stop. The two places were far apart, at least 20 million miles, and he hated to spread a few pairs of wings. However, when he thought that his first great-grandson had been born, he couldn't help but giggle. Fortunately, I still have the opportunity to meet my great-grandson. Children and grandchildren, the joy of nature, these are part of life for ordinary people. But for Yuanjie, if he hadn't been reborn from the soil, it would have been an unattainable dream. However, just as he passed through Gusua City, a strong aura suddenly locked onto him. Boom, a series of ultra-long-range attacks hit him on the body. Who the hell is it? What's blocking my way home? Yuanjie was angry, but soon, his mood sank, because he had already judged through the other party's skills just now that another hidden door had come. Snap, a man who looks like Panin, dressed in a sky-blue robe, he rises in the air, his playful smile bohemian. Yuanjie, long time no see. Yuanjie's eyes froze, and he recognized the other party as Xianjie of his era, from the Sivu mountain of the 12 guardian gods of the sea family, and most importantly, he was an SSS-level physique Xianjie, an awakened soul royal lineage. It stands to reason that it is very easy for him to be selected to go to the upper realm with this talent. The problem is that he has a backbone. It was personally brushed down by Yuanjie's grandfather. I have a question I don't know if I should ask. I was thinking, weren't you already dead? How could it have come to this era? The Hai family, although they did not participate in that battle back then, with their skills, they could easily receive rumors. What's the matter with you? Yuanjie replied lightly. He did not feel that the Hai family would necessarily be loyal to the Yuan family without participation. Perhaps the other party was plotting against a larger conspiracy. There was an extremely terrifying aura of cultivation spreading on Sivu Mountain, and Yuanjie felt it, and his heart was suddenly shocked. This kid? Won't break through the flying wonderland, right? Above the flying immortals, that is a realm that only the upper realm has. Yuanjie doesn't know, but he just feels that this aura is really powerful and scary. Do you resent the Hai family for doing nothing? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358. Seeing that Yuanjie did not answer, Heijing Mountain said to himself. If I were you, I would hate, and very much, what the hell is going on with your Hai family? Feed you good meat and bones to eat, and tirelessly raised you for millions of years. Why was the master beaten? You can't even bark? Is it waste? The owner is in danger. As a faithful dog, you should fight hard to protect the owner. What do you mean by hiding behind? Your Hai family is not even as good as a dog, and the dog can bark at least twice. What about you? Heijing Mountain suddenly approached with a fierce face, gritting his teeth and saying, Huh? Do you think so? I'm not wrong, am I? Yuanjie smiled slightly, and he shook his head and retorted, Actually, our Yuan family has always regarded the 12 guardian families as partners, not servants, let alone a dog. Heijing Shan turned around and pointed at Yuanjie and shouted, That's all good words from your Yuan family. It's okay to deceive a 3-year-old child? Really, we don't have IQ? Didn't your Yuan family always pride themselves on being invincible to the world? Yes? How did it suddenly collapse? Ho ha ho ha, No other family has sent your life for you, and they have done their best to help you fight the rivers and mountains. Yuan family is not as good as shit. Yuanjie shook his head and disagreed with his words. You are too extreme. Back then, the ancestor of the Yuan family, Yuanjie, was born in the end of the micro, and later met 12 brothers, formed a team to conquer this world. To put it nicely, it sounds like together. In fact, only Yuanjie alone contributed. Years later, Yuanjie thought of brotherhood and integrated his own essence blood into the bodies of 12 dying brothers, giving them extraordinary divine power. The guardianship contract was signed voluntarily by your ancestors, and Genshin refused at that time, thinking that this hurtful relationship between brothers was said. Seaview Mountain showed disdain. Have you personally experienced these things you said? Millions of years have passed, who knows if it is true or not? Yuanjie sneered and said, well, I'll ask you, your ancestor Pig 9, did his talent evolve naturally? Is it not the divine power given to him by Genshin? Hell, if there were no Yuanjie, your high family would be able to become a cultivation family beyond the ordinary? Can you have endless years and extraordinary strength? Genshin was stunned into silence, and only after a long time did he snort coldly. Lord Genshin naturally has nothing to say to his brother, but what about you, and how do you treat the 12 guardian families? Do you see us as human beings? This sentence suddenly ignited Yuanjie's anger. Did the Yuan family really do nothing? 2 years before you were born, the Wang family was attacked by the birdmen of the Fiyu clan, and it was Yuanzhou, the head of the Yuan family at that time. That is, my grandfather led the Yuan family to come to the Fiyu clan to attack and counterattack, and in that battle, the Yuan family lost a total of 3,000 children. The year you were born, the son of the Yin family was kidnapped by the merfolk when he went to sea, and it was my grandfather who personally went to the waters of this Hongping Ocean to negotiate with the great demon king of the sea tribe and rescued him, when you were 3 years old. The head of the Z family unfortunately fell in the secret forest searching for treasures, and it was our Yuan family who tried their best to go to the forbidden area to bring his corpse back, and a total of 100 children fell. When you were 5 years old, the Shenta family Shenta Wujian clashed with the patriarch of the Centaur clan. A total of 50,000 people were killed in the heavenly demon abyss. Or did a Yuan family pay a great price to avenge them? A total of more than 300,000 Yuan family children fell in this battle, and the extraordinary physique, SS-level, Xianjiao fell by 110,000. If it weren't for that battle, do you think that in the next 100 years, your 12 families would have the opportunity to stand on the head of the Yuan family and point fingers? Why is the Yuan family not as good as before? Not to help you out. Heijing Mountain had nothing to say. A large number of events mentioned by Yuanjie, he had heard about it since he was a child. Before that incident, he, like the other clansmen, treated the Yuan family as brothers, until... Then why did all the clansmen of your Yuan family move to the upper realm? The clansmen who left the guardian family are uncared for in this world? As soon as the high family members below heard this, they immediately became angry, and the education they had been receiving was that the Yuan family was heinous and ruthless, and left their brothers to run away. Yuanjie smiled back, and he mocked, if it were another person to ask this question, maybe I would quibble, but you really don't know? Seaview Mountain, I'm telling you. Because of your talent, you were selected by the elders of the clan to participate in the selection to the upper realm, but you were brushed down by my grandfather Yuanzhou. The Yuan family has not given up on every brother. Do you know that the formation that teleported to the upper realm only allows those above the God King realm to pass, and the teleportation quota is limited, and the Yuan family gave up most of the family and left the quota as much as possible to the geniuses of the Guardian Spirit family? How can you discredit it? The High family was stunned. Yuanjie's words were not the same as the education they had received over the years. The geniuses selected by the High family back then were Hai Jingrao, Hai Yan, and Hai Jingai. One by one, familiar names came out of Yuanjie's mouth, causing a strong earthquake in the High family group. Eileen. Haven is my cousin, didn't he die accidentally? Dead fart, it's all the nonsense of that group of elders. People are soaring. I just said, how can a genius with a super physique, SSS-level, cultivate and go crazy? Yuanjie continued, back then, the High family was selected to go to the upper realm, and there were a total of 109 people, including 81 extraordinary physiques, SS-level, and 28 super physique, SSS-level. The number of places is even more than the 99 people in the Yuan family. He looked around at the High family members under the weak, and said in a loud voice, "You think the Yuan family is sorry for you, you think the Yuan family abandoned you, you think the Yuan family doesn't care, it's all because of the lie that he told in his heart after the Sivu mountain was brushed down." He Jingshan interrupted him, and he said in a deep voice, "Okay, don't show off your Yuan family, fairness is in people's hearts. People's hearts can be easily changed with just a few words. If it weren't for your Yuan family doing too much, we wouldn't think so. I don't have time to fight with you here now, I just want to take the fruits of your Yuan family over, Sharingan dynasty. Tomorrow I will change it to Sharingan dynasty. Hi family people, where are you?" He raised his arms and shouted, and the crowd below loudly echoed. "Kill Yuanjie, and then kill Sharingan dynasty Emperor Yuanjie, and take all his women over and insult them in person. It is my duty to revive the glory of the Hai family. Kill." Yuanjie's heart trembled, and he noticed that a powerful aura that was capable of destroying the world suddenly erupted underneath. There are actually more than 10,000 flying wonderlands? And all of them are complete cultivation? How could it be so strong? Doesn't it mean that you can't cultivate when you enter a different space? Heijia, what the hell is going on with you? Sivu Mountain let out a defiant laugh. Yuanjie, I know your brilliant achievements back then, and you still have spare strength to fight 200 flying fairyland alone with your own strength, but now more than 10,000 flying fairyland are complete. I see how you fight. Chapter 359. In fact, on the first day of the revival of Reiki, the Hai family arranged for the clansmen to come out to inquire about this new era. They had long known that this world had been ruled by the Yuan family and established the Sharingan dynasty. However, they did not impulsively appear directly, but chose to continue cultivating in a different space. Later, after the Zi family was subdued, and the Ning family, the Yin family, the Chen family, and other contemporaneous families were eliminated by the Yuan family, they became more cautious. So, they secretly opened a hole in the space Lore to allow the rich aura outside to penetrate in. It was at this time that the cultivation of the Hai family, who had been suppressed for a long time, advanced by leaps and bounds. To say that a battle 100,000 years ago, the biggest winner was definitely the Hai family. The elders in their clan had long detected that the heavenly Dao had been greatly damaged when the Yuan family attacked the Orc race with the power of the clan. If you endure another wave of attacks, there is a high probability that the aura will shrink, and the cultivators of this world will be greatly affected. Therefore, the Hai family took precautions and arranged a special aura inside the clan in advance, shrouding the entire Hai family and retreating into the void. In addition, a large amount of spiritual energy was reserved for subsequent clansmen to cultivate. After they were prepared for everything, sure enough, 5 years later, the other families realized that the world had changed greatly, so they had to hurriedly deal with it and save a small part of the fire. Other families can only sleep after entering the alien space, but the Hai family is different, and the aura they have prepared is extremely sufficient. Moreover, the Hai family is an entire family that remains, and other families can only enter a maximum of 5,000 people. The gap between the two was opened up but once. At that time, it was not that the Hai family did not want to participate in the war, but that they did not have the manpower and material resources to participate in the war. Later, after escaping into the void, Heijing Mountain found an opportunity to get rid of the Pro-Yuan faction one by one, completing the feat of unifying the Hai family, and from then on, the words of this family were the holy will. Immediately afterwards, he tampered with history and smeared the Yuan family as a heinous big bad person, and if anyone questioned him, he would definitely not lie the next day. In this way, the current Hai family is no longer the former Hai family. How could their hatred of the Yuan family be reversed by Yuan with just a few words? One after another extremely powerful aura even made the entire Lanzing notice it. Good, what a terrifying cultivation. The family in Gusachang next door hid at home and shivered. They have no desire to watch the battle, and if they are not careful, they have to be completely accounted for there. Only fools go to eat melons and watch the play. Gusa City was on the seaside, and many big demons of the sea tribe emerged from the sea, looking in that direction with solemn eyes. Yuanjie, Yi Suking, and Yu Menghan in the Byakugan palace noticed this huge movement for the first time. Yuanjie was about to walk over, but Yuan Qianyu tightly pulled the corner of his clothes, as if not letting him go. Child, Daddy has to go over to deal with some things. You let Daddy leave, okay? Babbling Yuan Qianyu shook her head desperately, and even wanted to cry. No matter how Yuanjie hugged her, she couldn't coax her. Yuanjie gently flicked her hands away, but he didn't expect the little baby to cry even more, and even out of breath, as if it was going to hang up in the next second. Yuanjie turned back distressedly. Yuan Qianyu's crying gradually eased down, and when he left, he immediately cried again. Yu Menghun smiled bitterly. It seems that Qianyu doesn't want you to leave, but over there's Grandpa. It's okay. Yu Menghun held her daughter and swayed left and right, wanting to put her to sleep. She whispered, if even Grandpa can't handle things, you will be sent to death in the past. You don't want your child to lose his father just after birth, do you? Yuanjie hesitated. He knew that what Yu Menghun said was the truth. If Yuanjie couldn't beat it, he couldn't help it. I'll go. Ye Suking stood up. Since Yuanjie couldn't leave, she should be able to go over as an idler to see the situation. Unexpectedly, Yuan Qianyu cried again, babbling in his mouth, just not letting Ye Suking leave. The little baby opened his arms and wanted the eldest lady to hug. Ye Suking had no choice but to resist her, so she had to say, then I'll let Keking go over and take a look at the situation. I'm not leaving. That's fine, Yuanjie nodded. The spirit object can be reunited after dissipating, and people cannot be resurrected when they die. Of course, he has the innate art of reincarnation, but this thing. It is as if he hopes that his relatives will die a painful death and resurrect each other. A girl dressed in purple appeared behind Ye Suking, and she called respectfully, Lord Mother, there is a big movement over there. You go over and take a look. When the time comes, I will possess you. Received, Master Mother. I'm going. Ye Suking nodded, and after Keqing left, she took out a black magic staff and poked it into the void, and this piece of heaven and earth was like glass being shattered. A picture appeared at the breakage, which was Keking's first point of view. Keking kept jumping through the spatial coordinates, and soon came to the outside of Gusua City. When she saw a large group of people densely packed underneath, she was shocked, not to mention her. Yuanjie and the three were frightened. I'm Zhou, this is the new hidden door? How could there be so many people? Not to mention hundreds of thousands of people, right? Which family is it? I have never heard of a large family that can enter so many people to a different space at the same time. Ye Suking wrinkled her eyebrows. As a person who mastered the power of space, she naturally knew some things. In fact, Yuanjie did not know that Ye Suking had sneaked into the void as soon as he had time a few years ago, looking for the wandering families, and destroying their teleportation formation from the inside. Back then, Wang Qing damaged a lot of teleportation formations from the outside, and she was sabotaging inside. So that's why, over the years, there have been so many hidden doors. 100,000 years ago, why were there thousands of families? At this time, this fish that slipped through the net was still a big fish, which made the Yuan dynasty usher in the biggest crisis in history. Grandpa, Keking appeared and came to Yuanjie's side. Coming? You tell him that if he doesn't use it, he will also send him to death, and quickly take the child to hide in a different space. When Yuanjie heard his grandfather say this, he was stunned. There is actually a hidden family that Grandpa can't handle? Which one, exactly? Heijia, Yuanjie answered Keking's question. Seaview Mountain narrowed his eyes, and he noticed that there was actually a spirit object that turned into an entity in front of him. Is it really a long time to see, and spiritual things can also take shape? He didn't say much nonsense and took the lead in attacking. Soul Heavenly Sword, a divine sword condensed from soul power into substance, flew towards Yuanjie and Keking. In just an instant, Ye Suking, who was a million miles away, felt her headache. She covered her head and screamed in pain. At this time, Yu Menghun gently put her hand on the back of her head, and a gentle breath restored her consciousness to clarity. This is a new divine technique that she has awakened when she was promoted to the God King realm. Give people roses, and have a lingering fragrance in their hands. Chapter 360. Everyone in the High family saw that the family took the initiative, and they all used their soul power to condense a weapon and attack towards the two of Yuanjie. The physique of the High family can only awaken the soul lineage. In this world, only the High family can grasp this power. This is also the real reason why the soul system physique will suddenly disappear. The High family hid in the void, and naturally could not be seen outside. And the people of the outer family scattered outside. The bloodline is not pure enough, and as time goes by, it gradually dissolves in the water and disappears, and the soul system is in this world, and it has never appeared again. It is a secret that fills the pit of the third chapter, The disappearance of the soul system. Almost everyone in the High family is a strong person of the soul imperial lineage, and they are proficient in all spiritual attacks. Spiritual attack is the most bizarre attack method in this world. You have no idea that the other party will suddenly attack. Moreover, soul power attacks can instantly destroy a person's willpower, even spiritual power, and completely become a fool. The slightly stronger Dharma Royal System and Spirit Royal System powerhouses were able to resist soul power attacks. However, the physique is difficult to resist, unless the other party's physique or cultivation is lagging behind you, or you have a secret treasure that is immune to soul power attacks. In the upper realm, almost everyone has a magic weapon to protect the sea, so the soul system is about equal to waste, but in the lower realm, without those magic weapons, no one can cope with it at all. But don't forget, Yuanjie is a dead person, and although the soul power attack can target the sea of knowledge, it is not harmful to the soul. Only the strong people of the Spirit Royal System can have a way to target the soul. And Yisuking was indeed hurt by Sivu Mountain through the medium of Keking. Sivu Mountain frowned. He found that the soul power attack was useless against Yuanjie. He didn't know how the other party was resurrected, but the most special thing was that this remnant body was actually immortal. Yuanjie's filthy soil reincarnation body has been bursting, and then reorganized, and so on. Since you can't kill him, then torture him, Sivu Mountain said with a smile. However, Keking was not so lucky. When she turned into an entity, she could be attacked, and the moment the soul heavenly sword touched, she was dissipated in heaven and earth. With the help of Yu Menghan, Yisuking gradually regained consciousness. She said to Yuanjie with a heavy face, "The other party probably has tens of thousands of flying fairylands, and there are countless other realms. Can't beat, we can only follow what Grandpa said, hide. However, he is the king of a country, and he will run when he says he will run." What should they do with Marshal Li, Chang Xinming, and Lu Yongyan who were left behind? Yuanjie fell into a dilemma. If he didn't run, he and his family would be in danger, and in the face of such a powerful enemy, they couldn't fight together. He is now a man with a wife and a daughter, no longer the same as before, just alone. With a family, there are bonds, and you can no longer be angry. Yu Menghan and Yisuking were waiting for his answer. However, as long as Yuanjie thought of those ministers and the people of the Sharingan dynasty, he couldn't bear to abandon them. On the one hand, the family, on the other hand, the career. How to choose? You tell me what to choose. Yuanjie was suffering from wave after wave of attacks, and he suddenly seized an opportunity. Soul Heavenly Sword. In front of him, countless small swords suddenly split and converged into a river. Boomo, the struggle of the ants before death. Do you think you can beat tens of thousands of flying fairylands? Is your divine power enough? Yes? Sivu Mountain dismissive. However, the next scene directly made him lose his mind. He could never have imagined that the body of the rebirth of the dirt was actually of infinite energy. In other words, as long as you give a chance, he can kill you back. Damn it, He Jingshan felt that it was not a way to go on like this, and some clansmen had already died. And the other party is immortal, infinite energy. If you blindly face the line on your side, it will definitely be a loss. So, he cast the Soul Heaven Prison to bind Yuanjie. Not only is personal movement restricted, but most importantly, forced to close his eyes. The best way to deal with the Yuan family's super pupil technique is to gouge out their pupils, and if they can't gouge out, then let them close their eyes. In this way, if they can't see, they can't perform pupil magic. How? Yuanjie, stop struggling, you can't beat me, it's not the opponent of the High family at all. Sivu Mountain took out a long sword from the space ring and stabbed it into the opponent's heart. As a result, Yuanjie smiled indifferently. Huh? Sivu Mountain was slightly confused. He looked down, his heart was broken with a big hole and he could still live? What kind of technique is this? Not only can it bring the dead back to life, but it can also give the other party an immortal body and unlimited energy. Then, Haging Mountain smiled evilly. Forget it, you are a dead person, although I can't kill you, but I can deal with your grandson, right? Your granddaughter-in-law must be very moist. Sivu Mountain licked his lips. Subsequently, he ordered the High family to fly to Sharingan in an orderly manner. He had already inquired that the palace of the Sharingan dynasty was in Sharingan, and he believed that Yuanjie would definitely be there. At that time, as long as he kills the other party, he will naturally ascend the throne and become the sole master of this world. Above tens of thousands of people. As soon as he thought of this, He Jingsham couldn't help but laugh maniacally. On the other side, in the Beijing Imperial Palace, Yuanjie asked Yi Suking to take Yu Menghen and Yuan Qianyu to go to the outer castle to hide first. The army of the Sharingan dynasty has already been assembled, even if the other party has tens of thousands of flying fairylands. They are an army of tens of billions, even if they use human lives, they must fight a bloody road. Aren't you leaving? Yi Suking looked at him with a worried face. Yuanjie shook his head, and then he looked at the army below who was ready to go, and sighed. I still can't let them go. After so many years of getting along, he already has a deep affection for them. Yi Suking pouted, if you don't go, then I won't go either. Death is to die together. It's a pity that I can't bear children for you. Sister Menghen, you go over first, wait for me over there. Yu Menghen arranged a protective shield in the Beijing Imperial Palace. Maybe it could block it for a while. After she put her daughter in the outer castle, she returned and marched with him. Don't forget, she is a divine beast born at the same time as Yinglong Zhengjin, and she has unknown means. At the same time, she didn't feel that Yuanjie did something wrong. Anyway, she did it right. This is the real man. This is the man she Yu Menghen fancy. Future upper realm? Yuan Qianyu stood up suddenly. She turned her head to Yuanjie and said, Dad, I have something to go out for a while. Let's talk later. What are you going to do? Yuan Qianyu smiled mysteriously. Go back and save you. Brother Ji looked confused. A golden streamer streaked across the sky like a comet, and a beautiful woman stood in the air. Looking at the familiar scene, she smiled. I'm finally back. Chapter 361. The Hai family soon arrived at Xianjing City, and Yuanjie was in the city, looking at each other from the air. Heijing Mountain pulled Yuanshan's hair, and Senran smiled. You are the grandson of this waste? First of all, I want to correct your statement. My grandfather is not waste, you are. Yuanjie dismissed his words. This is just the usual provocative trick of the villain. If it weren't for Yu Menghen specifically explaining himself just now, he must not go out, otherwise he would definitely rush up and punch the other party. However, not going out does not mean that you cannot hit the other party. Hitomi can attack from a long distance, and with the White Eye's visual distance bonus, it can reach an unexpected ultra-long attack range. Just when Sivu Mountain wanted to say something complaining, he was caught off guard and stabbed. Fortunately, his sense of battle saved his life, and he didn't stab his heart, and he dodged it slightly sideways. As soon as he first noticed the existence of 5 things around him that he didn't know what they were. However, he could not find his whereabouts. Abominable, he was attacked by a wave, and he was extremely angry. Split soul divine technique, his soul power instantly condensed into tiny needles, which others could not detect at all. When the fine needle was about to attack Yuanjie, he didn't expect to be blocked. What's the situation? Have a protective cover? What level of protective shield could actually block the strongest blow of his flying fairy realm? He found himself increasingly unable to understand this new era. In order to dream more at night, he attacked the shield desperately. Unfortunately, the backhand left by Yu Menghen has no health points, but is calculated according to time. It lasted 10 minutes of invincible protection, just enough to hold out until she returned. At that time, as long as she unlocks the seal in her body and fully awakens the strongest form, not to mention 100,000 flying fairy realms, even if 100,000 immortal monarch realms come, it will not be enough for her to fight. However, if she did so, her future cultivation ceiling would be affected. Normally, she wouldn't do that. But now, it is not the general situation, but a life and death crisis. She was naturally fine, but she didn't want to see anything wrong with her family. At this time, Susanoo activated outside the protective shield and entered the driverless car. The towering giant made the people of the Hai family stunned for a moment. Sivu Mountain smiled viciously. It's a pity, you are just a scumbag of the God King realm, that's it, still want to slay a dragon? His physique is also SSS-level, and there is no disadvantage to Shangyi Yuanjie. Moreover, he awakened the Imperial Soul Body, the so-called Imperial Soul Body, which can absorb the soul power of others and turn it into his own use. Once, he used this trick to absorb the soul power of an entire small famous clan, making this clan completely retarded. Build the Imperial Thunder God, Susanoo's whole body was covered with thunder, turning into thunder light, and he was cut in front of the other party in an instant. This is an advanced version of the God Willesh, and it is particularly fast. Sivu Mountain's sense of battle saved him again, allowing him to dodge this blow in a very short time. Ha, what other tricks? Just use it. Although he can't get in, it doesn't prevent him from wanting to play with the other party. However, at this moment, a huge black hole suddenly appeared in the sky, even covering the entire Sharingan city. In the black hole, it seems that sunlight is going to shine in, emitting a brilliant golden light from the inside out. All around, there are layers of clouds floating, which looks extremely beautiful. But, do you think it's that simple? A sphere made up of irregular rocks that was larger than Yuanjie's Yuanjie earthquake star fell from the sky and smashed towards everyone in the High family. The sky moves, a gentle male voice sounded, but he made the most ruthless move. The speed of the fall was not fast, but the people of the High family seemed to be frozen, standing there dumbfounded, watching the sphere smash towards them. I blanch. Yuanjie was shocked. Wife, when did you get promoted to Flying Wonderland? Or the cultivation of the fourth order of the Flying Fairyland? Yi Suking winked at him. Boom, the huge sphere fell, causing a terrifying explosion in the C family group. The sky shattered, and the flames burst into the sky. The spirit clock glanced away at the explosion side and quietly disappeared. The market has closed, the noisy peer has fallen asleep, go and rest. Yi Suking's move of heavenly movement launched by Zhang Li has to be said to have brought huge damage to the people of the High family. That's right, the surviving clansmen of the High family, except for those who naturally die of old age, there are still many left. But not everyone is flying in Wonderland. Not every flying Wonderland can carry the heavenly movement. This move directly destroyed 1/3 of the High family members. Haging Mountains saw the death and wounds of the clansman, and his face began to distort. Dare to kill so many of my people. Slut. See if I don't torture you to death. Yuanjie's face darkened, he hated when others threatened his family. Shadow Doppelganger art. Yuanjie created tens of thousands of shadow doppelgangers, allowing the shadow doppelgangers to go out and bombard with spiral pills. Amaterasu, the fire is extinguished. Super Shinra Heavenly Sign, Earthburst Sky Star, Heavenly Obstruction Shocking Star, Immortal Law, Thousand True Hands, Topada, Ayazu, Subichira, Silver Wheel Reincarnation Explosion, Golden Wheel Rebirth Explosion, Young Name Biguna, Heaven Stands Forever, Tenho Nachimei, Build the Imperial Thunder God. Wave after wave of skills, attacking towards the C family group. Or that sentence, although Brother G only has the God King realm, his physique is rare in the world. Moreover, which of these skills is not a top-notch technique? It can almost become someone else's famous skill. What's more, so many powerful skills are concentrated in Yuanjie. Boom, the people of the High family have once again decreased by more than half, leaving only a few flying fairylands, which are still breathing. Under the flying immortals, dead to death. Damn it. You all deserve to die. Seaview Mountain went crazy and attacked the shield regardless of consumption. However, it still can't shake half a point. There are still at least 30,000 flying fairyland outside. Just now a round of skills thrown over, only kill the cultivation low. Flying fairyland is really no way. Physique is one thing, but what if the other party's cultivation is comprehensively ahead of you? The color of the shield gradually faded, and it seemed that it was almost unable to hold on. Seaview Mountain looked pleased, and he continued to increase his attack. Yu Mengan is back, and when the protective shield breaks, she will fully unlock her body seal. However, what no one expected. Suddenly, a golden streamer fell from 9 days away. One punch. Everyone in the entire Langsing felt a violent shaking at this moment. One punch. The ground centered on the C family group began to crack inch by inch. Even the Sharingan city wall within the protective shield had cracks. Just one punch. The entire time and space seemed to be frozen. There was a violent explosion on the surface. Countless mud blocks soared into the sky. Boom. On the other side of the blue star that forms a straight line with Sharingan city, the seawater rises into the sky, and then forms a palpitating whirlpool. Fortunately, there was no one over there, just a sea area. One punch. Pierced through Langsing. Yuanjie, Yi Suking, and Yu Mengan were stunned. When the dust cleared, a blonde girl surrounded by golden energy appeared in front of everyone. Not only the hair is blonde, but even the eyebrows are blonde. The blonde hair is long and even extends to the ground. The blonde girl turned her head and smiled at Yuanjie, waving excitedly. Brother G, long time no see. Chapter 362. Shallow, Yuanjie screamed, and he rushed directly out of the protective shield. Yu Menghen shook her head with a smile. It seemed that she didn't need herself, so she waved her hand casually, and the protective shield disappeared instantly. Yi Suking was extremely shocked, but he didn't expect that Li Tiansha, who had disappeared for 9 years, would show his amazing combat power as soon as he returned. Good guy, you say this is the waste wood of the F-grade physique? Are you kidding? Yuanjie flew over and hugged Li Tiansha tightly. Brother Ji, I miss you so much. Me too. The joy of reuniting after a long absence made Yuanjie cry with joy. In these 9 years, countless days and nights, he was thinking about this girl. Although I know that she is still alive, I don't know what she is going through. All this, he was extremely worried. Fortunately, she came back safely. Let's not mention how powerful the power is. Anyway, she is fine. To kiss, Li Tian's shallow eyebrows were affectionate, and he pouted and leaned in. The Sivu mountain on the side, the whole person is stupid. What's going on? What about my people? The clansmen are gone. Gone? He stared at the bottomless pit in amazement. Just now, Li Tiansha's target was not him, but he was still shaken by the strong aftermath and was seriously injured. The strongman of the Seoul royal system was originally relatively poor in physical fitness, and the blow just now could be said to have almost killed him. It's just the aftermath. What will happen if it hits you firmly? Sivu Mountain didn't dare to think about it. Taking advantage of the intimate relationship between Yuanjie and Li Tiansha, he quietly condensed a soul heavenly sword that others could not find. Go and die? At this time, Li Tiansha reluctantly released his mouth and parted his lips. Wait a minute, Brother J, I'll solve this mouse first. Then, she turned her head and looked at it, gently raised her right hand, stretched out a finger, and a palpitating energy was beating in her fingertips. Follow me to Bo. A white gas wave formed and shot towards Sivu Mountain. Nope, he couldn't hide, and instantly disappeared into it. On the other side of Langsing, a huge wave broke out on the seamount. Li Tiansha spat out his little fragrant tongue and said mischievously, Oops, it seems to be a little too hard, Yuanjie, shallow, you are like this. It seems that it is not me protecting you, but you are protecting me. In mid-air, the figure of a pink-clothed woman gradually appeared. She looked at the deep pit outside the Sharingan city wall and fell into deep thought. Isn't that right? Shouldn't it be my turn to shine? She was stunned. She was excited to show her skills in front of her father in the past, but she didn't expect that the battle was over before she came. However, she was immediately relieved to see that her father and eldest mother were safe and sound. Looking at the degree of destruction, it should be made by his third aunt, who looks gentle and moves extremely cruelly. She frowned, always feeling that things were not going according to the established trajectory. Could it be that I appeared before, was detected by Grandpa Tai, and then caused the butterfly effect? When she replayed the past, she found that it had been changed. When she deduces the future, it is still the same as the original. It's okay, then I'll go. Or try to appear as little as possible in front of the father and mother in the past timeline. I'm worried that something unexpected will happen again. She looked at the little baby in Sanyang's arms from a distance, and couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. Hey, when I was a kid, I was so cute. Welcome home. Yi Suking smiled and hugged Li Tiansha a little, making her stunned and unable to distinguish the situation. Yu Menghen winked at her, and she instantly understood. It turned out that everything changed for the better. In other words, she can be with Brother Ji from now on. Is this the child born to Sister Menghan and Brother Ji? It's so cute. Li Tiansha couldn't help but kiss it. She looked back at Brother Ji and said that I also want a child. Yi Suking's speechless support. The cause of creating people has not yet succeeded. This is good. Another one to cut the queue. What year and month can I have a baby? Alice Zio Yuanqi and Ayu fluttered his hands and feet, as if greeting Li Tiansha. At this time, Li Tiansha noticed the strange appearance of the little baby. Brother Ji, why does she keep her eyes closed? Yes, Yuanjie only noticed this situation. Originally he thought that when the child was just born, it was normal that his eyes could not be opened, but now he has been born for most of the day, and he is still closed. Yuanjie rubbed his hands at this time, and he tilted his head and smiled at Li Tian. Give me a hug, Grandpa. Li Tiansha glanced at Yuanjie inquiringly. Yuanjie nodded, and then she carefully squatted down and handed Yuanqi and Ayu over. A 5-year-old little fart child, holding a newborn baby in his arms. How discordant it looks. What's her name? If you don't have a name, I'll help her choose one. Just call, Grandpa, if you have a name. Her name is Yuanjie. Yuanjie quickly interrupted the old man's words, and it can be seen from his father's name that this product is really named without artistic cells. Metaborn? Good guys, simple and straightforward, huh? Yuanjie's enthusiasm was suddenly extinguished, but he didn't care, but poked the little baby's face with his finger. Hey, seeing Yuanji's little hand tightly grasping his fingers, he laughed happily. Seeing such a happy scene, Marshal Li quickly sent all the soldiers to leave. Okay, go back to each house, find each mother, there's nothing for us here. Everyone reluctantly left the Byakugan Imperial Palace. Emperor Yuan gave birth to an heir. This good news soon spread throughout the world. The good news is that Emperor Yuan has descendants. The bad news is, it's a girl. However, at special times, it should not be bound by the ancient law, and the female emperor is not impossible, right? As long as it is the heir of their most respected Emperor Yuan, whether male or female, they have no opinion. Upper realm, Emperor Sharingan drank a little too much tonight, and he was helped into the room shakily. Zheng Yun's eyes couldn't hide her disgust, and when she thought of living with this dog man for the rest of her life, she felt sick to her stomach. Sharingan was sleeping soundly on the bed, and she walked away in disgust and sat on the table lying on her stomach. In the middle of the night, Zheng Yun suddenly felt a pair of strong arms and hugged him fiercely. Madam, it's time to get down to business, let go of me. Zheng Yun struggled with all her strength, but how could she, who is low in cultivation, get rid of the young cannon who had achieved the perfection of the immortal emperor realm? Snap! Sharingan was angry, slapped over, and directly slapped Zheng Yun in place. Slut! You are my main media is marrying back. Be honest with me. Zheng Yun's face was instantly filled with tears of humiliation. She gave up resistance, like a corpse that had lost its soul. Slut! Can you stop looking like a dead mother? Can you give some emoji? Soon, Sharingan fell asleep groggily. Zheng Yun's eyes were bleak and soaked in the bath, desperately trying to wash the stains on her body. She felt that she was dirty very thoroughly, dirty so that she couldn't accept it. One after another red blood stains gradually spread out the bath. Woohoo, she cried silently, she was so painful, she didn't expect her debut to end in such a bleak ending. She clenched her teeth and even bit her lower lip through the skin. Yuanjie. It's all to blame on you. You made me like this. I'm going to make you doomed. Chapter 363. Zheng Yun, she hates everyone in this world. It's them, it's this fucking world that makes them what they are today. But at present, she does not dare to blame the family, let alone anger the heavenly emperor and the emperor. Then you can only firmly buckle the pot to the weakest Yuanjie. Anyway, it's all your fault. Someone else's fault is bigger than yours. But I can't blame them, and I dare not blame them. So, I can only hate you Yuanjie. In her impression, what is the Yuan family? However, she has lived in the Donghuang mansion since she was a child, and she knows how strong her family's strength really is. There are 10 top-level emperor venerable realms alone, including her father emperor. She is just a weak flying fairyland. How dare she rebel against a strong family? She couldn't resist either. But, what about the Yuan family? She had only heard of one Yuan Shen in the Yuan family, who was their ancestor, and after hearing her father's emperor, she was slightly inferior to him. Anyone else? I really don't know. So in her heart, she subconsciously felt that the Yuan family was definitely weaker than her own family. If you take revenge, you can only grab the soft persimmon and pinch. Moreover, at present, Yuanjie is still in the lower realm, and it is unknown when he will be able to reach the upper realm. Life is impermanent. What if he dies below? Who knew she was arranging for someone to kill? As we all know, dead people are impossible to speak. She is now just a rookie chicken in the flying fairyland, and she can only borrow the knife of others to kill Yuanjie. So, she began to make a series of plans in her heart. Yu Menghen handed over Xiao Yuanqianyu to Yu Suking to take care of, and she came to the imperial dining room to prepare a table of good dishes to wash the dust for Li Tiansha's return. At this time, someone quietly grabbed her little man's waist. Okay, stop making trouble. I'll be with you again tonight. She thought it was Xiang Yuanjie. Unexpectedly, a strand of long hair ran across her side face, and it was Li Tiansha who came. Hee, Sister Menghen, shallow. Yu Menghen blushed, and couldn't help but feel a little shy about the boudoir secret just now. Sister Menghen, you worked hard. Li Tiansha was sincerely grateful to her, because before leaving, the other party had sworn that when she returned, everything would be fine. I didn't expect it to really get better. She didn't know how Yuanjie did it, so that Yusuking could put down the mustard, and even give birth to an heir one step earlier. Yuanjie replied with an unnatural expression, if you want to thank you, go and thank Xiaonan. She has the most credit. If it weren't for the scolding of that wedding, it would be really difficult to easily change Yisuking's mind. However, this also caused a small gap between Xiaonan and Yuanjie. Mainly in Xiaonan's heart, she later thought that she had indeed done a little too much, but her stubborn personality made her not casually bow her head and admit her mistakes. Therefore, Xiaonan kept avoiding Yuanjie and did not dare to continue to entangle the other party. She is afraid that the relationship with her brother will deteriorate even more later, so she avoids it and lets time dilute the contradiction. In fact, Yuanjie didn't care at all, and even wanted to thank her. Li Tiansha tilted his head and asked suspiciously, Sister Xiaonan, well, if it weren't for her big wedding, Sister Suking wouldn't have changed her mind. So, Yuanjie told Li Tiansha about the original matter. Li Tiansha was stunned when he heard it, and he always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't say it. After such a long time of getting along, she naturally knows Xiaonan's character and will definitely not be such an impulsive person. But why? Yuanjie won't admit it, just let that past rot on the past. She was not afraid to let Yuanjie know, but she was worried that Yisuking would know about this and might make some movement. Fortunately, now that she and Yuanjie have cooked rice and cooked mature rice, the children have been born, and the wood has become a boat, and no one can separate them. Li Tiansha smiled shallowly, and suddenly approached Yuanjie's ear and whispered. Yuanjie blushed, and she didn't know how to explain it. If he said that his physique was special again, maybe Li Tiansha would ask her like Yisuking when he would be able to give birth. Sure enough, after saying that, Li Tiansha looked unbelieving. There was no way, Yuanjie could only casually make up a convincing reason. The method is very simple, that is, after each handstand, as soon as these words came out, she twisted and ran away. Li Tiansha sat on the side holding his cheeks and fell into deep thought. Handstand? Does it really work? However, she and Brother Ji have not yet started, so why do they think so much? When she ran out of the dining room, she happened to bump into Yuanjie. Seeing her appearance, Yuanjie asked suspiciously, Shallow, what's wrong with you? The face is so red. No, it's okay, Li Tiansha stammered to explain, but immediately plucked up courage, raised his head and said to Yuanjie, Brother Ji, can you accompany me tonight? Finally, she stood on tiptoe, echoed in Yuanjie's ear, whispered 5 words in a voice that only 2 people could hear, shook her hand and ran away. Yuanjie smiled bitterly and shook his head. It seems that he has to be busy tonight, and he has to run on both sides. Fortunately, Yisuking has recently been forced to take a holiday. Cheers, cheers. Yuanjie and Yisuking exchanged a wave of glances, which was a word that only they understood. As the head of the family, Yisuking raised his cup and looked at Li Tiansha, and said with a smile, Welcome back from shallow cultivation. This family is only complete with you. Li Tiansha was flattered. She hurriedly stood up, clinked glasses with Yisuking, and said stickily, Thank you Sister Suking. Well, it's a real sister, not the sister I recognized back then. Yisuking looked at her and couldn't help but think of the hard years when the 3 of them depended on each other. Now, everything is better. They are no longer cold and hungry, they have their own home. And this family is Yuanjie who connects everyone together. Shallow, how the hell have you spent all these years? Yuanjie sandwiched a dish for Li Tiansha, so he asked, and everyone was also very curious. Li Tiansha's shallow little face blushed, and he could see that she was not good at drinking. I met my parents there. It's a pity that it's the phantom. They taught me a lot, and most importantly, they taught me how to be strong. Later, they turned into a strong person to fight me, and in the beating, I became stronger and stronger. However, it has never been possible to unleash that legendary power. So, Li Tiansha glanced at Yuanjie and pursed his lips. They turned into the appearance of Brother Ji and killed him in front of me, and in a fit of anger, I finally burst out that power. After the First World War, I was seriously injured and passed out, and when I woke up, I found that my body had healed and the secret realm was gone, and I was floating in the starry sky. After wandering outside the starry sky for a long time, I finally found Lanzing. Chapter 364. When everyone heard what Li Tiansha said, Their hearts couldn't help but clench. Almost never came back? How vast the starry sky is, no one knows. Li Tiansha thought for a while and continued, it's also strange to say, I went to a planet that looks like Lanzing before, but it is many times smaller than Lanzing, and the technology there is very developed. People don't know how to cultivate, but they can still fly away. There's a place on that planet where the food is delicious, and it's said that there are so many cuisines that I've tasted. They look very similar to us, and seem to call themselves the descendants of Yanhuang. I was on a small moon next to that planet for a while. Yuanjie and Yi Suking couldn't help but look at each other. It was difficult to hide the shock in their hearts. The two asked in unison, is it called Earth? Li Tiansha raised his head and thought for a while, then nodded, it seems to be called so. Do you remember where? Yi Suking was so excited that she grabbed the other party's hand, and she wanted to know urgently. Everyone who comes to another world will think of home, and Yi Suking and Yuanjie are no exception. Li Tiansha touched his head and said apologetically, I don't remember where. There are no bearings and coordinates in the starry sky, and I don't know exactly where. Yi Suking slumped in the chair with her eyes lost. She really wanted to go back again. She wanted to meet her elderly parents, and then tell her that her daughter's reincarnation was living well here, so let them rest assured. Her parents only had one daughter, and when she was 30 years old, the white-haired person sent the black-haired person. For an old man, this is the cruelest thing, and sometimes they even want to exchange their lives for their lives and let themselves die instead of their children. Yuanjie gently took Yi Suking into his arms and patted her back to comfort her. Everyone didn't know why, so they suddenly cried. Yuanjie opened his mouth to explain, it's okay, she is homesick. Li Tiansha hesitated for a while, and she asked in a low voice, that Earth, should it be the hometown of Suking's sister? Yuanjie nodded thoughtfully, it is also my hometown. At this time, Xiao Yuanqianiu suddenly cried. She stretched out her hands. Yu Meng'an put down her rice bowl, and silently carried her back to the room to breastfeed. Yuanjie, on the other hand, helped her reserve the meal and waited until she was busy and came out to continue eating. In the middle of the night, Yuanjie was in Yu Meng'an's room. The two were lying face to face, and between the two, there was an increasingly cute little baby. Xiao Yuanqianiu was snoring in a large font. The two even breathed very carefully, silently teasing the little baby. Xiangong, did you say that Qianiu's sleeping posture was inherited from you? How is that possible? She is the child of the two of us, and if you want to talk about genetics, you also have half the credit. HMPH, how come? I usually sleep on my tummy. Yu Meng'an's body is a misty with the same living habits as a kitten. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Yuanqianiu turned over, and then continued to sleep on his stomach. Yu Meng'an was speechless, causing Yuanjie to laugh. She first took away the other party's strange claws and gave the other party a blank eye. The meaning is very clear, say something serious, don't be so unorthodox. She spoke, Xiangong. The Earth you are talking about, maybe I have the ability to pass. Yuanjie was stunned, and then thought that it was not impossible for Yuanjie to jump in space or even time, and to travel back to the Earth. It's just that I can't do it right now. I have to cultivate to the Emperor Venerable Realm before I can position and jump at will. Yuanjie is puzzled. Emperor Venerable Realm? Yu Meng'an patiently explained, in the upper realm, the flying fairy realm is only the lowest level, and even, the newborn baby in the upper realm is the beginning of the heavenly fairyland. There are a total of 7 realms in the upper realm, which are the heavenly immortal realm, the Zhuan immortal realm, the golden immortal realm, the immortal monarch realm, the immortal venerable realm, the immortal emperor realm, and the emperor venerable realm. Yuanjie thought to himself, isn't this the realm of the immortal cultivation realm? Is this a copy? But after thinking about it, the upper realm and the upper realm are not wrong with the immortal realm. Above the flying immortals, there are heavenly immortals, truly transformed from the mortal body and become a veritable immortal. It's just that he is a little annoyed, finally standing at the top of the strength in this world, and after going up, he has to start again from the bottom. People, isn't this a set of dolls? Yu Meng uncovered his mouth and smiled. Xiangong, you don't have to worry, everyone who goes up from the nether, if there is power in the upper realm, people naturally have a way to help you quickly improve your cultivation. Millions of years ago, Yu Meng'an also mixed in the upper realm, and she knew this very well. It's just that she hasn't gone back for a long time, and I don't know how the forces in the upper realm are divided now. Since her Xiangong Yuanjie is a member of the upper realm Yuan family, Then she will marry a chicken with a chicken, marry a dog with a dog, and join the Yuan family. It stands to reason that the divine beast cannot join any forces, but Yinglong Zhengchen married the Eastern Emperor Taiyi. Didn't he also join the Eastern Emperor of Mansion? With this precedent, she believes that no one will stand on the moral high ground and accuse her. I believe that Yasuking and Li Tiansha will definitely do the same. The family, and most importantly together, is good wherever it is. The two carefully warmed for a while, for fear of quarreling with their daughter. Yu Menghen pushed him away and asked him to go over to find Li Tiansha. Yuanjie wiped it, nodded and agreed. He didn't look at the door directly, and opened Shenhui void through the wall of Yu Menghen's dormitory. Fortunately, Li Tiansha is also a person who has seen strong winds and waves, and she did not panic, but had some expectations. Finally, on this day, the two people will achieve positive results and be closely connected from then on. As soon as Yuanjie came over, he was thrown down by one person. Brother Ji, I miss you so much. I missed you when I was beaten. I miss you when I practice. Even in a dream it's all you. Yuanjie caressed the side of her face and said softly, I know, I miss you too. Li Tiansha slowly shrunk in his arms and whispered, at the beginning, when you said that you wanted to pursue me, in fact, I was reluctant in my heart at first. I think our relationship should not be that kind of relationship. Later, I don't know why, all of a sudden I fell in love with you. During that time, you were busy breaking through the great evening realm and didn't have time to pay attention to me. I thought you were running away after prodding me. Do you know, I was really scared. I was afraid that you would ignore me. When you really like someone, you know the pain of love sickness. Fortunately, you are still in place, waiting for me. Yuanjie hugged her tightly, put his head on her forehead and said, actually, I have always been there and never left. Li Tiansha kissed him a little, and said to him extremely seriously, Brother Ji, I want to tell you something very serious. What's going on? I'm no longer the original Li Tiansha. Nanny. Yuanjie was stunned. What did this mean? Li Tiansha arched in his arms and said with a shy face, Brother Ji, do you believe in a past life? When I go to every strange planet with life, a strange memory suddenly springs up, and I finally understand what you said to me. It turns out that we were together a long time ago. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365. Yuanjie was shocked. Li Tiansha, what new thing did this unlock? Actually, I went on Earth to the place we used to date together. Li Tiansha snuggled into his arms and said sticky. I remember you saying back then that I was no substitute for anyone, and I didn't understand what it meant at the time, but now I know. Actually, it was me too. My dad told me that I had a bad fate, that I would die whenever I was 22 years old. So, he put me to sleep this time and got through this difficulty. As she spoke, she started crying. I didn't expect that in every life, you would be by my side and watch me die, and in the end you could only hold my corpse powerlessly and huddle. Yuanjie kissed her tears with distress, and said in a trembling voice, okay, it's all over. In every life, you don't live to be 22 years old. What kind of desperate life is this? In the best time of life, I had to say goodbye to this blooming world. You suffered. Yuanjie hugged her tighter. Li Tiansha, on the other hand, shook his head and said, no. It's you, not me, who works hardest. You know, death is not terrible. The most painful thing is the people who love you who are still alive. Then, she broke into a smile. Fortunately, I survived this life. My father said that I am a heavenly physique. As long as I survive the 22-year-old calamity, I can become extremely powerful. Now, I have collected a total of 591 past life memories, and my body has absorbed 100-fold huge vitality contained in all the unspent time of 591 past lives. To put it simply, it is the life of the earth. She was supposed to die at the age of 93, but she died unexpectedly at the age of 22, and the 71 years that did not live are now multiplied by 100, all gathered in Li Tiansha's body in this life. Yuanjie was stunned. Can he still play like this? The heavenly punishment physique, if you can pass unharmed, will soar into the sky. The front is infinite reincarnation brush experience. When unlocked, thousands of energies converge into one, directly one key to reach the full level. It turns out that the skull flower Li Tiansha is not a waste wood physique, she is the daughter of heaven's punishment, and she is also the chosen daughter. All the fate has long been arranged, and in one life, she will truly awaken. Yuanjie didn't know what kind of cultivation she was now, because she was refining the body, and she had no divine power fluctuations like ordinary people. But don't mess with her, or your skull will be lifted. Yuanjie suddenly had a very bold idea. If he and Li Tiansha's children were like her, inheriting the legendary heavenly punishment physique? After he died, he was immediately reincarnated and resurrected. No, if someone who is proficient in the power of time helps him, dies and becomes a baby in seconds, and then rises to 22 years old in seconds. Die again, resurrect? Die again, resurrect again. Die again, rise again. When you don't want to brush up on experience, then take him her into the Shinwei space to avoid the punishment of heaven. I blanch. This picture is so beautiful. This Nima opened a life simulator, right? It's really a one-click full level. Suddenly Brother G was a little looking forward to it. He looked at Li Tiansha with a smile, and the meaning was very clear. Let's go. Li Tiansha's pretty face was as red as a ripe apple, and she didn't dare to open her eyes to look at Brother G. And she didn't even dare to come out of the atmosphere. After a while, she felt his breath getting closer. Turn off the lights, turn off the lights, turn off the lights for what? With the lights off, I can't tell if you're front or back now. Li Tian's eyes widened, and with a loud sound, red light appeared all over his body. I blanch. So spelled? At this time, he actually opened the door of death directly, right? But then I thought about it, Li Tiansha's life force in his body now is terrifying. Even if he doesn't close the door of death in daily life, it's just drizzle. Jigoden felt fulfilled all of a sudden, and there was hope for the little day. It seems a little interesting. You can also adjust the size of the light as you like? What a joy I've never experienced before. However, Brother G suddenly asked with a strange expression, if you open the super race mode, will your body become invulnerable? If that's the case, it's going to be funny. I don't know, or do you want to try it first? Okay, you punch me first, I'll punch you again. How? Is this really good? It's hard for me to control the strength of my shots. It's okay, I should be able to handle it. Bang! Brother G was like a real dragon out to sea and soared into the sky. Straight into the sky. Upper realm, Emperor Shaodian seems to be particularly fond of the achievement of becoming a dragon knight, and comes to Zhengyun's dormitory all day for a vacation. The most important thing is that Zhengyun's personality is very cold, and he stares at him every time, bringing him different happiness. It's the feeling that the other party obviously wants to kill you, but can't do anything at the mercy of others. Concubine, keep this expression, I like it. Tonight's Zhengyun's expression began to change, making Emperor Shaodian suddenly feel that happiness was missing. I don't know what's going on. Zhengyun is like unlocking the special proclivities of the Emperor Shaodian. Zhengyun didn't know why, and suddenly seemed to bind the other party's heart firmly to her. More than once, she wanted to stick a knife into his heart in the middle of the night. But she knew that even if the immortal Emperor realm died physically, there were still 10,000 ways to resurrect and be reborn. Emperor Shaodian left refreshed, leaving Zhengyun alone in the room in a daze. She looked at herself in the mirror, bruised, beaten every night, really hit with equipment. Apart from not hitting the face, where has it not been injured? The man said that he liked to hear her screams in pain. She felt very humiliated, and she felt very sad when she thought of spending hundreds of thousands of years, or even millions or tens of millions of years, for the rest of her life. Why am I the one who suffers so much? The hatred in her heart grew stronger. Clench your fists. You all have to die. All of them have to die. Only death, to solve the hatred in my heart. But when I think about it, how can I resist a powerful enemy when I am humble? A sense of powerlessness rose in her heart. So, she had a plan. The next night, Emperor Shaodian came over with a small leather whip as usual. Unexpectedly, Zhengyun roared, "You waste, not even 1% of Yuanjie's is enough." Shaodian's anger was ignited at once, and he coldly pinched Zhengyun's neck. "Yuanjie? Who is he? Bah! I will never tell you. You vile and impudent. Snatch me away from him. He and I are obviously true love. We're all about to get married." The corner of Emperor Shaodian's mouth suddenly hooked an arc. Robbing his wife? Can't imagine that you also unlocked this achievement? Kind of interesting. He works harder to output. whip by whip on each other. After Emperor Shaodian left, an inexplicable smile appeared at the corner of Zheng Yun's mouth. Chapter 366. After Emperor Shaodian returned to the palace, he lost interest in continuing to tease. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became, and he was angry with a man named Yuanjie. Although he feels that this achievement is inexplicably cool, but what is his identity? The son of the heavenly Emperor Shaoheo of the Eastern Divine Court, he is the Emperor Shaodian. How could his woman ever let other men get involved? Not allowed, absolutely not allowed. Even if he didn't do anything, even his heart couldn't be on that dog man. With a grim face, he called, "General Lu." In the darkness, a strange figure came out of the void, and he respectfully knelt on the ground. "Emperor. What are your orders?" Go to the Yuanjie family to investigate. Is there a person named Yuanjie? I will get the results tomorrow morning." "Yes." Lu Shen turned into a wisp of blue smoke and dissipated in the hall. Emperor Shaodian's face began to distort, and he returned to Zheng Yun's dormitory. He was in a very bad mood. If you don't beat this slut half to death, he can't vent the hatred in his heart. Dare to like a man other than Ben Dizzy. The next morning, Lu Shen would come to the Dizzy Divine Palace on time to report. "See the Emperor, the result, Yuan family, there is no clan called Yuanjie in this world." Emperor Shaodian closed his eyes, his fingers tapping lightly on the table, without saying a word. His sea of knowledge was using secret deducing, and suddenly he opened his eyes. Zheng Yun heard that he was arrested from the nether. Is there a possibility that what Yuanjie is in the nether? Dong Huangtai thought that no one knew about his family affairs, but he underestimated the energy of the Heavenly Emperor mansion. What can be hidden from the Heavenly Emperor? Emperor Shaodian said indifferently, "You, now go to the Yuan family ancestral star, it should be Lanzing, find Yuanjie, remember. Don't beat him to death, and catch him." As for the people around him, Emperor Shaodian made a gesture of wiping his neck. "Oh, Zheng Yun, when the time comes, I will ravage and torture your beloved one in front of you, and then in front of him. Let you know the consequences of the change of heart of this emperor." When he knew the reason why the other party kept staring at him fiercely, Emperor Shaodian suddenly lost interest. However, it derives a different kind of happiness. As for the Yuan family, sooner or later the Heavenly Emperor mansion will have to deal with them. If you do this, not only will you not be scolded by your father, but you will even be rewarded for your merits. What's more, that Yuanjie was afraid that he would not be able to fly to the upper realm for the rest of his life. The cross-border teleportation formation is only available in the Heavenly Emperor mansion. Other big families, even the Eastern Emperor's mansion, couldn't do it. Since this is the case, Emperor Shaodian has no worries. The god will hold the Emperor order and come to the cross-border teleportation array. The Guardian Guard raised his right hand and motioned for the other party to show the token. This is for the stability of the nether. If everyone casually crosses the border, then wouldn't the mortal world be in chaos? Besides, the nether heavenly Dao Lord would not allow the upper realm gods to act so indiscriminately. Lu Shen took out the Emperor's order and said coldly, "Ben will be on the Emperor's order to arrest people across the border. Who, sinner, what is the crime? You dare to question the Emperor? Don't dare." The Guardian God guards were frightened by this momentum. They were just part-time workers. How dare they provoke the Red Man Lu Shen general next to the Emperor? Therefore, they did not dare to ask more, and after asking for the Emperor's edict, they directly let them go. Nether, a pillar of sky-soaring light suddenly descended around Jingcheng. Lu Shenjiang frowned, but he didn't expect that the hour here was actually comparable to the upper realm. However, the laws of the Nether Heavenly Dao have been locked. That is, as long as you don't ascend for a day, you will always stay in the flying immortal realm. There is a gap between the flying fairyland and the heavenly fairyland. Even if your strength is enough, you still can't beat the real immortals. At this time, the Jingcheng guards noticed the abnormality on this side, and they quickly flew over to check, but no one found it. Strange, where did it go? Let's go back, it should be fine. That's right, if there is a problem, Emperor Yuan will make a move. Lu Shen would use his cultivation to shield all his breath. Even if he stood in front of the other party could not see him. How could an immortal be seen by a mortal fetus in the flesh? Unless he lets you see it, you don't know it. Otherwise, how can there be a saying circulating that there are gods who raise their heads? When Lu Shen heard the term Emperor Yuan, he subconsciously attracted his attention. He thought to himself that the people who could be favored by the emperor would definitely not be ordinary people. So, he walked down the street and listened, and even if someone passed by, it was directly through his divine body. He is like a cloud of air, and no one in the mortal world will notice him unless he strikes. After spending a little time, he finally learned that the person the emperor was looking for was the son of mortal heaven. And this capital of the Sharingan dynasty is in Xianjing. Presumably, that Yuanjie must be there. He even got a portrait of Yuanjie, because the people really worship Yuan Huang too much, and everywhere is hung with portraits of Yuan Huang. It is said that worshipping every day is more effective than worshipping God, and you can also town houses. And it was this unintentional move that brought disaster to Yuanjie. At this time, 3 years had passed since Li Tiansha returned. After working hard day by day, Yusuking finally paid off. She is pregnant, just 5 months old, and has already begun to appear in fetal form. She is happy every day, and she is extremely happy when she thinks that her child with Yuanjie is about to be born. And Li Tiansha is envious to death. She is not rotten, and even pesters brother Ji every day. However, his stomach never moved. Xiao Yuanqianai is already 3 years old, and she can run off the ground a long time ago. Jin Yu, slow down, she ran. Li Tiansha chased behind. Although the speed of the child was very slow, she could catch up with little effort, but she enjoyed this pleasure very much. Yu Mengan and Yi Suking stood behind, looking at the big one and the small one with a smile. What about Xiangong? My husband was called away by the 2 prime ministers, saying that he had something to discuss. Yu Mengan continued to set her eyes on her daughter. I don't know why, my daughter is still closed at the age of 3, and she doesn't mean to open her eyes at all. She was a little worried. The little daughter wouldn't be a disability, right? You know, her father is a reincarnation pupil. There is no reason why such an excellent gene would breed a blind person, right? She began to blame herself. Could it be because she was an older mother? Unknowingly, Lu Shenjiang floated into the Byakugan Imperial Palace, and he was looking for Yuanjie and his family everywhere, ready to kill with one blow. Because Yu Mengan and the others were in the far northern Kinggu grassland, not near the palace, he did not find it. Just as he was passing by the imperial study, he heard 2 people talking in front of him. Emperor Taisheng, what realm are you? Marshal Li finally seized an opportunity. He wanted to ask the other party how to practice. He had been stuck in the realm of returning to the mortal realm for a long time. To Emperor? Lu Shen's eyes were cold. Since Yuanjie is Emperor Yuan, then Emperor Taisheng is definitely his family. Dai, Lu Shen will immediately appear, and a divine light will descend from the sky, like a thunderbolt on a sunny day, shrouding Yuanjie and Marshal Li. Chapter 367. Lu Shen will be a real emperor realm, even in the upper realm. It is also the existence of a hegemon. His blow immediately annihilated Yuanjie and Marshal Li. Then, he sensed that there was someone in the house. Emperor Yuan, this is the list of new national joint examinations. Take a look. Well, you guys worked hard. It's okay. Serving the people of the Sharingan dynasty is my duty to wait. Lu Shen listened to the 8 wastes, and he immediately knew that the person who was going to be arrested was inside. And at this moment, behind him, Yuanjian's filthy earth reincarnation body was condensing. Grandson. Come on. Run. Yuanjie tore open his throat and roared. From the divine light just now, he felt an energy that was even more terrifying than his brother Yuanjie, which was definitely not an existence they could handle. The 3 people in the imperial study heard this shout and immediately increased their vigilance. Emperor Yuan, you run. The Sharingan dynasty can do without old ministers, but it must not lose you. Run. Yuan Emperor. You are the backbone of the Sharingan dynasty. You must live well. Chang Xinming and Lu Yongyan resolutely stood in front of Yuanjie. Their elderly bodies clenched their weapons, and their eyes looked like death. However, in the face of the power of the immortals, they were still too small. Run, Lu Shenjiang sneered. No one could see when he moved, not even Yuanjie's chakra eyes. Chang Xinming and Lu Yongyan fell in disbelief. Their eyes widened. Obviously the other party was still standing 100 meters away at the moment. How could it be? They used all their remaining strength, turned their heads and opened their mouths to Yuanjie, but they couldn't shout. Run. Yuanjie understood. He had tears in his eyes. These 2 old men, on the occasion of the establishment of the Sharingan dynasty, they had done their best for this country. Even if they weren't already old, they were still struggling in the front line. When the ice and snow are there, the flood is there. When the rebellion is suppressed, they are also there. No matter when, no matter what kind of suffering the people of the Sharingan dynasty have suffered, as long as they are still alive, they will definitely go to the first moment immediately. Tell the population that the state has not forgotten everyone, because we have always been. However, now these two old men who wanted to dedicate their lives to the Yuan dynasty were killed by thieves and ended their lives early. It is said that people who die before death must have regrets in their hearts, right? Wang Qing is like this, and so are they. They must be regretting that they can no longer serve the people of the Sharingan dynasty. They obviously still have the strength. Yuanjie suddenly remembered the moment when his daughter Yuanqianai was born. He saw the future, in the ruins of the palace, the two old men lying on the ground. It was them. He knew the end for a long time, but at this moment, there was nothing he could do. Genji shouted angrily, and opened Susanoo to rush towards the other party. However, Grandpa hugged each other's legs at the moment. He was so small, he could only do this. Run, you can't beat him, even if my brother comes, you can't beat him. Do you want to see the two prime ministers really die without blindness? Yuanjie King resisted the impulse, and he stopped. Grandpa is right. Such a powerful enemy is not something he can cope with. So, he thought of Yasuking and them, and quickly sent a message to the other party with his hand in his trouser pocket. Into the void. After doing all this, he planned to enter the Kamui space. Lu Shen will be like a clown, watching Yuanjie struggle to the death there. If it weren't for the Emperor's words to catch him alive, he would have made a move in a second. Alien space? Kind of interesting. He first kicked Fei Yuanshan, and then cast a spell to imprison the fragments of the dirt reincarnation body and stop condensing. He approached the place where Yuanjie disappeared just now, step by step, and then, he threw the simplest punch. Let me see how hard this alien space of yours really is. Bang, bang bang, bang bang. Lu Shen will punch the air, and gradually, the air is actually beaten abruptly and a void crack appears. Lu Shen will reach into a hand and probe into the void crack. Yuanjie, who was staying in the Shenwei space and breathed a sigh of relief, suddenly felt an irresistible force. What the? I was actually ripped out of Shenwei space by him? The strength of this killer has completely broken Yuanjie's worldview. He had always thought that as long as he hid in the Shenwei space, he could avoid all risks and be absolutely safe. However, I never expected that in the face of absolute strength, all moves were just paper tigers with bells and whistles. Lu Shenjiang snorted coldly, and he kicked Yuanjie into the air. The powerful force made the Imperial study collapse with a bang. Yuanjie's fragile body was kicked and flew to the Zhuanzhang Hall. Cough. Yuanjie spat out blood, and he was no longer able to get up. At this time, the guards of the Zhuanzhang Hall noticed a movement on this side, and when they came closer, it was actually the seriously injured Yuan Emperor. Emperor Yuan, what's wrong with you? Who the hell beat you up like this? Yuanjie said to them weakly. Run. He really didn't want anyone to sacrifice for him anymore. Swear to the death to protect Emperor Yuan. With a roar, soon a large number of palace guards gathered around Yuanjie. I let you all run, why don't you obey? Yuanjie's voice was very weak, and he felt like he was about to die. A soldier turned his back to him and said loudly, Emperor Yuan, I am a soldier who followed you on your conquest of Winsao, and I remember you saying that soldiers are armored to protect civilians, and we are your weakness. So, I don't want to be your weakness. I want to be your armor. Another soldier said, Emperor Yuan, I was originally the guard in the frontier of the Sharingan dynasty and the Great Bear country, and I still remember that the rice balls you and the queen gave me were very sweet. Emperor Yuan, my son has no talent for cultivation. Originally his fate was destined to only farm, and he will always be an ordinary person. It was you who founded the national entrance examination that changed the fate of our family. Emperor Yuan, I was originally a poor person living in Kingu, and I have always been bullied by the local people in Kingu, but fortunately you personally led troops to liberate Kingu and return us a peaceful era. Emperor Yuan, I was originally a slave of the Flying Eagle country, and you proposed that all people are created equal, completely dismantled slavery, and returned our free life. Emperor Yuan, my family has been bullied and oppressed by the Ning family before, and even the children have been brutally killed by them. I have always been grateful for everything you have done, so that the family will no longer do wrong. Emperor Yuan, back then, my family had a meal that did not go down, and lived in a broken thatched house. Thank you very much. Let the lives of our ordinary people become better. Now, Not only do we not have to worry about food and housing, but we dare to add 2 eggs to eat noodles in a warm house. Emperor Yuan, Emperor Yuan, Emperor Yuan, Emperor Yuan. In my heart, you are the first emperor of the ages. Men die for confidence, and we are not afraid of death. But what we are most afraid of is, if you leave, what will the Sharingan dynasty do? A call made Yuanjie burst into tears. He didn't expect that what he did was just a small thing. In his opinion, it was just a trivial matter, and this group of soldiers actually remembered it for so long. Really, thank them a lot. Yuanjie suddenly felt that his life was satisfied. He thanks Xiao dares to hurt my Yuan emperor. The flying tiger General Li Tiansha roared angrily, holding a gun and blocking the door of the Zuan's hang hall first. Chapter 368. A blinding white light descended, and Lu Shen flew the corners of his mouth playfully in the air. Who are you? It doesn't hurt to tell you. I am the Heavenly Court Divine General of the Eastern Divine Court of the Ancient God Realm, and from your mortal point of view, I am an immortal. At this time, more and more masters gathered in the palace, and the Yuan Emperor was in difficulty, and all sides supported. Even though they knew that they were likely to fall, they still fought hard. Kind of interesting, Lu Shen clapped his hands. How many years? It is difficult to see such a united scene again, right? Many forces in the upper realm are in their own way. Even if it is the words of the Heavenly Emperor, not every force will listen to him. Don't you think the Yuan family is a clear example? Unification? Oh, delusional. No force dares to say such a big word. Only in the weak mortal world will someone stand up and be able to do so. It is obvious that Yuanjie is that person, but unfortunately, he provoked the emperor. Oh, it's really unbearable, but what can be done? At this time, the flying tiger general roared angrily, what shit to mortal? Immortals like you, dogs don't worship. Lu Shen's face turned cold. He pointed to the void. A heavenly punishment divine light descended, and the figure of the flying tiger general disappeared into this heaven and earth in an instant. There is nothing left. Yuanjie was stunned. He didn't know how he had provoked the heavenly god of the upper realm if he wanted to break his head. Could it be the enemy of the upper realm Yuan family? Crossed over and wanted to erase the remnants of the Yuan family? It shouldn't be. The Yuan family heard in the upper realm that there are no enemies, and they are still the object of being wooed by major forces. How can they kill the clan of the ancestor star of the Yuan family, regardless of the big cause and effect? Doesn't the other party know that sooner or later, he will be taken up by the upper realm Yuan family? Some time ago, Grandpa went to the ancestral land of the Yuan family at the bottom of the sea, and he had already contacted the people of the upper realm, and I believe that it would not be long before the cross-border teleportation formation could be repaired. Who the hell is that? Yuanjie's gaze became cold. If he didn't die this time, who dares to move him? Blame their people. Okay, there's no time to play games with you. Lu Shenjiang gently raised his right hand, and a thunderbolt was grabbed by him in his hand and turned into a thunder sword. Finally, he pointed towards the thousands of troops below. The 9 heaven Zhuan thunder descended silently, and the magnificence of the heavenly power, as if the end of the world. Some people closed their eyes in despair. At this time, an old man's voice appeared in the outer heavens. Lu Fang, you're over, but how can this small nether heavenly deo of yours be able to comment? Lu Shen will show mockery on his face. What heavenly deo? Mortal pariah may be afraid of him, but as a heavenly court divine general, he doesn't put the other party in his eyes at all. The heavenly deo lowered the holy light and illuminated the entire heavenly Kyoto, and Lu Shen suddenly felt the pressure, and he took his sword and slashed towards the 9 heavens. After a while, the holy light faded. Oh, little Sharingan deo, but that's it. How could a capable immortal be willing to stick to the nether realm and become a heavenly deo? And at this moment, a purple divine thunder that descended from 9 heavens away slashed towards General Lu. This blow was even 1,000 times more ferocious than the holy light just now. Boom! In the Byakugan Imperial Palace, everyone was extremely grateful to Lord Sharingan for helping. If it weren't for Lord Sharingan's hand to stop the 9 heaven Zhuan thunder, I was afraid that he would be bombarded to the point of scum. Just when everyone was still expecting Lord Heavenly Deo to destroy this shit immortal, 9 days away, Lord Heavenly Deo's weak voice appeared. Unexpectedly, the Heavenly Emperor Mansion actually gave you a god that would be equipped with such a divine object, which is a bit interesting. I don't fight you, naturally someone will accept you, and the people behind you. Clarity was restored between heaven and earth, as if the shocking battle just now had never appeared. Lu Shen's face will be gloomy. This dog Sharingan, when he goes back, he must be impeached. He actually dared to reveal in his words that he was a person from the Heavenly Emperor Mansion? As soon as these words came out, he was contaminated with great cause and effect, and sooner or later he would be discovered by the Yuan family. As a top battle power emperor venerable realm powerhouse in the upper realm, he naturally knew more than the others. The Yuan family is definitely not such a simple family. Since that's the case, then they all die. Not only the people in the palace have to die, but the entire people of Sharingan have to die. Because they heard things they shouldn't. He who knows is guilty. He raised his thunder sword again and shouted, "With my sword, the 9 directions divine thunder, thunderfall, Emperor Yuan." A soldier threw himself on his body, and even folded up the arhats, trying to resist Xianwei with his flesh and blood, which could be weakened a little. However, how can mortal flesh and flesh resist the power of immortals? The soldiers themselves knew, but this was useless for them, the only thing they could do for Emperor Yuan. Yuanjie was sad, he was desperate. Did I really want to go like this? Originally, he was already standing at the peak of the combat power of this realm, but if a person came down from the upper realm casually, he was vulnerable. Not only him, but even the entire world, in front of the immortals, is still as small as dust. Host, you, Alice, forget it. I don't want to watch you die in this system. I'm lazy. I don't want to find a new host. You're fine. Then I'll shit once, only this once. The host of this session is really too difficult to raise. It's really nerve-wracking. I went to rest. Host, good dream. On the other side, on the Kinggu grassland, Yi Suking's heart suddenly grabbed. She felt very uneasy. Not only her, but Rinnegan and Li Tiansha also felt this way. Xiao Yuanqianai also cried inexplicably, crying to go home. Yi Suking suddenly realized something. She quickly took out her mobile phone to contact Yuanjie, but opened her eyes and saw Yuanjie's last message. Into the void, Xiaoji, she burst into tears, as if something important had been lost. Sister Suking, I don't know why, I suddenly feel so uncomfortable. Me too, Brother Ji won't have an accident, right? Yi Suking quickly pulled out her black wand, broke through the void and stepped in. Future upper realm, Yuan Qianayu suddenly pushed open the door of the study, and she smiled mysteriously at Yuanjie. Daddy, get ready, see you later. What do you mean? Brother Ji was puzzled. Let's go back in time together and meet them. The entire Sharingan was completely reduced to ruins, dilapidated, and people could not bear to look at it directly. Destroying a prosperous city of 1 million square kilometers in an instant is just a thought. The wrath of the gods is terrifying. He looked at the ruins below with a sneer. Hundreds of millions of people did not even have a corpse left, only empty ruins. An ant is an ant. How? It's really vulnerable. At this time, he noticed that a void crack appeared underneath, and the corners of his mouth raised, and he couldn't think of any unexpected gain. Yi Suking ran out first with a big belly. She saw everything around her, and she sat down on the ground. How so? How so? What about Xiaoji? Xiaoji, where are you? Yi Suking couldn't cry, and Rinnegan and Li Tiansha were also stupid. I didn't think that when I went out, my home was stolen and destroyed like this. Lu Shen will dream more for the sake of the night growth, and directly hold the sword in a finger of the void. A world-destroying thunder descended. Directly pointed to Yi Suking, Rinnegan, and Li Tiansha. Want to hurt my 3 mothers? Chapter 369. And just when the world-destroying god thunder was about to hit them, they were abruptly stopped in mid-air. Yi Suking and the 3 still maintained their previous expressions of horror, and even the drifting snow in the sky was motionless. The figure of a stunning woman in a pink gauze gradually appeared. Alice, I really can't take your Heavenly Emperor mansion. I want to provoke my father, and then mourn for you for 3 seconds first. The young woman really made a silent expression. Subsequently, she dragged the 3 of them to the distance with divine power. When she saw Xiao Yuanqianai on Li Tiansha's back, she couldn't help but kiss it, and said beautifully, "Hee hee, I used to be so cute." Then, she flew into the air, and when she noticed the emperor armor on Lu Fang's body, she chuckled, "Forget it, I won't kill you, naturally someone will kill you." She returned to the 3 of them and snapped her fingers. Boom, the world-destroying god thunder descended again, and blasted the entire Byakugan palace out of a bottomless pit. Okay, mission accomplished. Lu Shen will fly to the Zhuanzhang Hall and look for Yuanjie's body. It doesn't matter if he kills here, anyway, there are countless ways to resurrect after the upper realm. It's just that the price is a little big. If he hadn't been whistleblowing by this nether heavenly Deo, he wouldn't want to kill the other party directly. Resurrection, with the option to delete a certain memory. If it weren't for the change in the situation, he really didn't want to make this decision. However, he couldn't help frowning. What's going on? Not to mention the corpse, even the soul is gone? It's impossible, he has already restrained. Didn't he see the souls of the groups of soldiers around him frantically attacking him? There is no reason why Yuanjie has nothing left. What the? Isn't he dead? Lu Xin's face was horrified. And at this moment, a powder fist slammed over, knocking him hundreds of miles away. Hit from the north of the city to the south of the city. He wiped the bloodstains from the corners of his mouth and smiled cruelly. I can't imagine that in this realm, there is actually an opponent with the same strength as me. Did you come from the ancient god realm? Are you from the Yuan family? And only one fist with golden light all over his body answered him. Boom, he was punched into the sky again, this time in the abdomen, and his bitter water spewed out. You pay me back, brother G. Li Tiansha turned on the Super Race 3 mode, crying and beating the other party. Yet, Li Tiansha pushed one knee to General Lu's chin. Me. Li Tiansha raised his leg and kicked Lu Shenjiang violently to the ground, shaking out a deep pit. Li Tiansha grabbed General Lu Shenjiang's hair and dragged it all the way to the ground. Brother, Li Tiansha threw Lu Shenjiang into the air, and then a Kigan wave blew it out of Langsing space. The adult Yuan Qianyu, who was standing beside her mother, couldn't bear to look directly at the violent and bloody scene, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. Sanyang is really Sanyang, and it hasn't changed at all. At this time, Yu Mengan looked at the Meyerling woman who suddenly appeared beside her, and I don't know why, she had the illusion that she was connected by blood. You are, unexpectedly, the other party actually hugged her. Mother. When did I have such an old daughter? Yu Mengan looked at the little daughter standing on the right, a little confused. Unexpectedly, the youngest daughter replied to her in an old-fashioned manner. Mother, this is me when I grow up. Yu Mengan was in disbelief. She looked at the adult Yuan Qianyu, and then looked at the young Yuan Qianyu. Don't say it, it really looks like it. The most striking thing in common is that both people have eyes together. The young Yuan Qianyu pulled the adult Yuan Qianyu and said, you go and chat with your mother, I still have a long time with her, I went to play in the sand. What sand? Give me a good stay here. Adult Yuan Qianyu said with disgust. Young Yuan Qianyu grinned and waved his small pink fist, snorted and hugged his chest and looked to the other side. Yu Mengan was a little confused, she was a little confused about the situation, but the feeling of being connected by blood was definitely not wrong. Mother, I am Yuan Qianyu from 1,000 years later, 1,000 years from now. Yu Mengan's eyes widened, and her eldest daughter's words shattered her 3 views. That's right, the adult Yuan Qianyu smiled shyly, and then said, later, my father will come over in 1,000 years, fair. Yu Menghan's breathing was short, and she was suddenly a little nervous. I don't know if he was raised by himself 1,000 years later. At this time, Yi Suking seemed to have lost her mind. She bit her finger and kept muttering in her mouth. Let you hurt Xiaoji. Let you hurt him. I want you to die. She held the red magic sword and plunged it into the ground in a frenzy. Her long purple hair fluttered in the wind, and she shouted with a hideous face, Ru's body is under my command, and my destiny is attached to Ru's sword. Answer the call of the Holy Grail, and he who obeys this will and reason, respond to me. Under Yi Suking's feet, a magic array suddenly appeared. I am the one who accomplishes all the good deeds in the world, and I am the one who gathers all the evil in the world. The magic array gradually emitted dazzling light. 7 heavens entwined with the 3 spirits, appear through the wheel of suppression, guardian of the scales. Boom, a holy light fell from the sky, covering Yi Suking's entire person. Yu Mengan was stunned. What kind of commotion is this? Sister Suking. Adult Yuan Qianyu smiled mysteriously. You'll know later. The holy light dispersed, and a man dressed in black and gold, looking a little confused, looked at it. What is striking is that his eyes are actually golden pupils, and there is a red pupil on his forehead. This is where? The adult Yuan Qianyu rushed over and hugged him, calling out, Daddy. I've been waiting for you for a long time. The man's eyes were full of pampering and stroked his daughter's hair, and then he looked at the 2 people on the opposite side and was immediately shocked. You are? JJ. Yi Suking never expected that her move was a divine skill comprehended by the God King realm, and could summon people in the future. Chapter 312 has a specific chapter earlier, I forgot which chapter mentioned, actually summoned his future husband? Yu Mengan was also stunned, and she looked at the future Yuanjie in disbelief. Future Yuanjie smiled slightly, and then nodded his daughter's forehead reproachfully. This is what you told me about the past. However, he did not say much to the past two ladies. He knew that he was not himself in this timeline and should not have intimate movements. Otherwise it feels weird. Really, I haven't been back here for a long time, it's strange to miss it. Xiaoji, Yu Suking stepped forward to hug him, but was dodged by future Yuanjie, and the adult Yuan Qianyu stopped her. Su Qing, don't blame me, I'm just the future me, you should belong to the current me, not the current me. Yu Suking held back her thoughts, she took a step back, she also felt that it didn't seem good to do this. When she saw the future Yuanjie standing in front of her unharmed, she immediately relaxed her heart. It seems that Xiaoji of this timeline, he is fine. It's okay if you're okay, it's okay if you're okay, it's okay if you're okay, replied Yu Suking incoherently. Future Yuanjie flew into the sky, and he looked down at Sharingan City, which had become a ruin, and couldn't help sighing. The tragic destruction of Sharingan back then is still vividly remembered. It's just that I don't know that the two prime ministers, as well as the flying tiger general, obviously died in front of him, and when he returned, he found that they were alive and well. At that time, I was still inexplicable, but now everything makes sense. It turned out that it was my future self that came back. He pressed his left and right index fingers together with his middle finger and closed his eyes. Suddenly, a towering Yanluo king appeared under the surface. It suddenly opened its huge mouth. Outer Dao, Reincarnation Innate Art, come back, everyone. Chapter 370. This is, Yu Suking looked horrified. As a powerhouse of the top spirit imperial physique, she naturally sensed the changes around her. She watched as one spirit body after another was gradually reshaped. The most unheavenly thing is that the physique and even cultivation before death have been perfectly restored. Outside the imperial study, in the ruins, a young man broke through the ruined building. He stood up in confusion, stretched out his hand and looked at his body in confusion. This is, the young man wiped the blood from his body. Is this what pain feels like? I don't know how long it has been since he ever felt such a real touch again. Next to him, a wall was stretched open, and Marshal Li choked on the dust to his throat and coughed violently. Emperor Taisheng, what happened just now? Marshal Li wondered. I just saw blinding light, and then, after waking up, I looked like this. He raised his head and looked at the young man beside him in confusion. Who are you? The young man sighed and said softly, I think I should be the emperor, you shouted. Marshal Li looked at him, the shock on his face unable to be contained. This tough handsome, eyebrows are a little similar to Emperor Yuan, well-proportioned and toned body curves, a shawl black hair. If it were not for the iconic green eyes, Marshal Li would really not recognize it. Tai, Emperor Tai, how did you grow up? Marshal Li stammered and stared again. I blanch, it's really big. Young Yuanshan sighed, he really didn't want to be resurrected. He felt that the body of the reincarnation of this oil was very good, and he still had unlimited divine power that was immortal and immortal. Although he didn't know what had happened just now, he could only passively accept the facts. He guessed that it should be his good grandson Yuanjie, and when he resurrected everyone, even he was resurrected after 100,000 years of death. Do you have clothes? Oh, yes, yes. Marshal Li touched his pocket and found that the space storage bag was missing. The innate art of reincarnation can only resurrect the human body, and the items cannot be restored. The divine light just now turned him and everything on his body into powder, and as for why he was resurrected in clothes, the question was a bit acute. Don't ask why. Marshal Li took off the clothes on his body and gave a part to Yuanshan. The two were about the same height and should fit. At this time, two weak breathing sounds sounded in the ruins of the imperial study, and Marshal Li quickly used divine power to separate the ruined building. Shang Shuling Changsen Ming and Hong Shuling Lu Yuangyan slowly stood up, and they glanced at each other suspiciously. Isn't it already dead? It was he who resurrected everyone. There are many resurrected people, and we should not be the only ones. Yuanshan explained softly. The two old men had tears in their eyes, and it seemed that Emperor Yuan had not forgotten them. What made them happiest was that the Yuan Emperor, whom they had always admired, was actually so capable of defying the sky. Those who have died can change their lives against heaven and be reborn in reincarnation. In the Beijing Imperial Palace, in the city, and on the outskirts of the city, more and more people have regained consciousness, and they look at the ruins in front of them, with mixed feelings. Emperor Yuan, Flying Tiger General Li Tiansha took the lead and bowed down. He recognized at a glance that the man wearing black and gold armor in midair was the Yuan Emperor. The generals who were reborn in the palace, as well as the Manchu dynasty Wenwu, as well as the masters of the major families who flew over to support, the strong people of the academy bowed down in unison. Can the people in the city still not understand at this time? Sharingan city has been destroyed into this ghost. How can they be spared with mortal bodies? There must be a strong person who used his heaven-defying powers to resurrect them. And, most surprisingly, many others have returned. It was precisely when the southern spirit beast tide occurred in the previous dynasty, and the people of Linhu City, Xianyu City, Fi City, and Jianghu City, who unfortunately died under the iron hooves of the spirit beast tide, did not take the initiative to choose reincarnation, and all returned. The Manchu dynasty was in tears, and at this moment, they finally understood why the Yuan Emperor resolutely chose to move the capital despite everyone's opposition and build the new kingdom of the Sharingan dynasty on ruins. It turned out that Emperor Yuan had plans a long time ago. However, resurrecting hundreds of millions of people at one time, this kind of great power that changes the heavens and lives, really does not matter. Hearing the cheers that resounded throughout the heavens and the earth, Yuanjie looked to the east. His divine power turned into a pair of huge wings, bringing Marshal Li and the two prime ministers up, and he flew back to the three halls of the palace. Sun Zun, Yuanjie put the three down, and he flew over stunnedly, hugging the future Yuanjie tightly. I thought you would die in front of me again. Yuanjie had just tried his best to stop General Lu, but he didn't want to see the scene from 100,000 years ago happen again. Unexpectedly, heaven is fair. After you have hurt once, it will not let you hurt again. Your eyes, Yuanjie noticed that Yuanjie's state at this time was very different from before. It seems ridiculously powerful. And this kind of power is more unfathomable than anyone he has ever met. Whether it was his brother Yuanjie, or the Lucian general just now. Grandpa, future Yuanjie smiled slightly, and he took out a set of family clothes of the upper realm Yuan family from the big black sky. Looking at the incomparably familiar clothes, Yuanjie's emotions suddenly couldn't be controlled. Grandpa, actually, I am me from the future. Yuanjie handed him the family costume, turned and flew into the air. I'll talk about it later, I still have things to do. He put his palms together. The brightness of the entire heaven and earth suddenly dropped, turning from day to moonlit night. What is remarkable is that in the night sky, a strange red moon exudes a faint light. The red nine-hooked jade reincarnation eyes on Yuanjie's forehead suddenly opened. Unlimited monthly reading, he looked down at the people of Sharingan City who were kneeling on the ground, a trace of struggle flashed in his eyes, and said to himself, some people, some things, you don't have to know the truth, you don't have to remember that I ever came back, the banquet of the whole world, goodbye, Sharingan dynasty, you only need to remember one thing, the Yuan Emperor you love, he's dead. The hero will eventually need to end. Forgive me, I can no longer accompany you, until the sky is wasted. The blood moon in the sky gradually revealed the shape of the eye of reincarnation, a huge and incomparable virtual shadow, and he held the blood moon in his hands with a calm expression. He was obviously like a god high above him, looking down on all living beings, but inexplicably made people feel a sense of intimacy. Emperor Yuan. It's Emperor Yuan. The Yuan Emperor is in the sky. Someone raised his hand and screamed, but in the next second, his pupils showed the appearance of reincarnation eyes. In addition to Yuan Dian, Ye Suking, Yu Menghan, Yuan Qianayu, and Li Xianxiao, who beat Lucian General in outer space, was not affected. Everyone stood in place, staring at the red moon. 2 lines of tears slipped from the corners of their eyes. Congratulations, Emperor Yuan. Chapter 371. Outside the domain, Lucian will be on an unknown planet, supporting a rock and climbing up with difficulty. He spat bloody and looked fiercely at the blonde long-haired girl standing across from him. I really didn't expect he was a strong man in the Emperor Venerable realm, even in the upper realm, he was also a hegemonic existence, and when he came to the nether realm, he was actually beaten by a person without immortal power fluctuations. He didn't know how many planets his body had shattered. If it weren't for the fact that he was a top-level combat power Emperor realm, his physical body was extremely powerful, and he had a special increase in the low plane. I was afraid that he would be exploded into a blood mist with one punch. Enough. Do you know who I am? I'm a god general in the ancient god realm. I am a being on top. Bang! Only one kick and the answer to him. Lu Shenjiang really couldn't figure it out. Obviously it was a pair of slender long legs, but it burst out with such terrifying power. If a macho man with explosive muscles came and beat him into a pig's head, he would admit it. However, the other party is obviously just a weak girl who is 7 feet tall and weighs less than 90 pounds. You look at that thin arm and leg, can you imagine that she can burst out with such amazing combat power? What a freak! Lu Shen struggled to get up again, and he spat out his broken teeth. Li Tiansha stared at him panting, continuously turning on the Super 3 mode. The load on her body was still quite large, and she suddenly felt a little tired. What happened to my brother? Lu Shen will not be afraid in the slightest. In the nether, he is an eternal god, truly immortal. Just like Clark on Earth, only real immortal power can kill him. However, it is simply impossible for anyone in the nether to be able to cultivate immortal power. He said sarcastically, that's right, as you wish, he was killed by me. It's still the kind that is directly annihilated in the divine light, dead without a whole corpse, and the divine soul is extinguished. Li Tian was stunned, and her eyes lost their radiance for a moment. What you said is true. Lu Shen will secretly take out a divine sword and put it behind him. The threat of this girl in front of him is too great, and he must kill him with one blow. This is the hardest battle he has fought in so many years of becoming an immortal. The speed and strength of the other party have reached an incredible level, and they have been pressing him to fight, and there is no way to fight back. He felt very humiliated, and he would actually be beaten up as a sandbag by a little girl who smelled of milk? I'm also a god. Is it good to give face? Why don't you even punch in the face? He can't wait to kill the other party immediately. Shame before the snow. Just as he approached Li Tiansha step by step, he attempted to come to a wave of Jedi counter-killing. Li Tiansha's body once again erupted with even greater momentum than before. Lu Shen didn't even think about it, so he hurried and ran. He sneaked to another galaxy first, and quickly crushed the jade card. A divine light descended from the sky. The other party is not a normal person at all. When is it better not to run at this time? As for the Emperor's task? To hell with it, where does a dog's life matter? After I went back, I hid directly in the Hades Palace. Even the Heavenly Emperor Mansion did not dare to break in. How dare you? Li Tiansha lowered his head, trembling all over. She bit her lower lip and couldn't stop the tears streaming down her face. After a while, she came back from wandering in the starry sky, but she didn't expect that a dog thief would destroy her and Brother G's bright future. Let the two be forced to separate again. She was very angry at this time. Very, very angry. Anger and despair rekindled her blood. Boom! The momentum that erupted from her body instantly shattered the planet under her feet. For the first time, Lu Shenjiang thought, how could Nima's divine light come so slowly? He kept looking back, afraid that the other party would rush over and give him a second. Finally, the divine light came, and a smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Just when he felt his body begin to dissipate into this world little by little. Suddenly, a red-haired girl covered in red flames appeared in front of him. Lu Shenjiang laughed wildly. Ha, are you coming? This is the Heavenly Emperor Divine Light, can you help me? The red-haired girl had an indifferent face, and a white and tender palm directly punched away in his shocked expression and gently placed it on his chest. Very soft and light. Die? In the upper realm, the guards of the cross-border teleportation formation of the Heavenly Emperor Mansion waited for a long time, but they did not see a figure appear. What about General Lu? I don't know. The divine light teleportation had been turned off, and he never saw the other party. Suddenly, one of the guards found that in the corner next to the teleportation array, there was a bloody Imperial Order, as well as a bloodshot eyeball. His eyes were wide and big, as if he saw something terrifying. Lu Shen put him. The guard was stunned. He didn't believe that Lu Shen would be killed. You know, he was a top powerhouse in the Emperor Venerable Realm. Even in the Heavenly Emperor Mansion, he was also a famous big man. Just when he was stunned, he suddenly crossed the teleportation array, and a violent energy gushed out. Boom! Before the guards could see what was happening, they were submerged in this energy. I'm blanched. What's the situation? Emperor Shaodian was stunned for a while, and he was frightened. He quickly lifted his pants, ran out the door and flew up to check. I saw that in the Heavenly Emperor Mansion. The mansion where the cross-border teleportation array was arranged was blown up, and the scene was miserable. Even Heavenly Emperor Taihao was shocked, and his figure crossed space and appeared in the Heavenly Emperor Mansion. Who is it, dare to brazenly bombard the Heavenly Emperor Mansion? His expression was gloomy, which was a great provocation. Don't put him, the Heavenly Emperor of the Eastern Divine Court, in his eyes at all. And Zheng Yun, who was covered in blood, crawled out of the door little by little from the bed, holding back the pain, and behind her, dragged a particularly dazzling scarlet. She looked into the distance, and was horrified in her heart. She couldn't imagine that Yuanjie actually had such a big life. Can even the Emperor Venerable Realm execute him in a small God King realm? However, she quickly calmed down, since this is the case. Heavenly Emperor Mansion, her gaze became extremely resentful. In the future, Yuanjie floated to his family's side, and he walked to his grandfather Yuanshan's side, and he stopped talking. Seeing him like this, Yuanshan knew that he probably had something to explain to himself. After all, he is a person in the future, crossing the river of time, regardless of cause and effect to return to the past to shoot, originally committed a big taboo. Grandpa, I'm ready to go back. Well, it's good to go back, that's where you belong. Future Yuanjie grabbed the void and held a cluster of nebulas in his hand. This is my divine power space. When he returns, you will give this to him. Now that his strength can no longer use Shenwei, give this Shenwei space that has accompanied him for thousands of years to his past self and protect him thoroughly. In the future, it would be impossible to threaten his life without the Emperor Venerable Realm 50. Yuanshan nodded seriously, and he asked, is there anything else to explain? Yes, Grandpa, trouble you to stay in the Nether for another 100 years, and pick him up when the time comes. Then, he looked at Yasuking and Yumengan and smiled slightly. As for you, let's go to the ancient god realm in advance with our future daughter. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372. Yasuking and the two were stunned, and she hurriedly asked, why? I want to wait here for you to come back. Future Yuanjie shook his head, and he sighed, as if remembering the past that could not be looked back on. No need to wait, you guys go up first. Here he is, and there are things. You don't have to worry, one day in heaven, 100 years on earth, the day after you go up, you will be able to see him. The reason why Yuanjie arranged this in the future is that there are some things that he doesn't want them to know. This is also something he has been guilty of for a long time. Yu Menghun subconsciously looked at her adult daughter, and when she saw the other party nodding seriously, she chose to believe. Okay, I'll go up with Kaianayu. Yu Menghun went up, and Yasuking didn't know what to do for a while. Future Yuanjie persuaded, if you stay in the Nether, you won't see him on the day the future child is born. Yasuking's expression was stunned, her eyes gently caressed her bulging lower abdomen, and finally made up her mind. Okay, I'm waiting for you to come back in the upper realm. Future Yuanjie nodded, so, he raised his head and looked at the sky, and a red meteor cut through the sky. Li Tiansha came back, she saw Brother Ji from a distance, and after landing, she was about to rush over and hug him, but was blocked out by Shinra Xianzhen. Shallow, he is not the Ji brother you think, he is the future Xiaoji. Future, Li Tian tilted his head, very puzzled. At this time, a burst of orchid fragrance crossed the tip of her nose, and someone hugged her from behind. Sanyang, a large and a small voice sounded at the same time, which made Li Tiansha stunned. She turned her head blankly, and saw a stunning girl with closed eyes looking at her with a smile. Sanyang, this is the future me. Zio Yuan Qianayu hugged Li Tiansha's calf, climbed onto her shoulder little by little and sat down. Her posture was very skillful. Future you, Li Tiansha was even more puzzled, but the big one and the small one really looked like it, and the simple shallow mind did not think much. She said in surprise, Sister Menghun, I just said that Kaianayu must be a big beauty in the future. You see, I didn't say anything wrong, right? Yu Menghun nodded with a smile. Li Tiansha finally sorted out her thoughts, and she accepted this strange scene. Two family members from the future world, standing in front of her alive like this, always feel a little strange and a little wonderful. Hearing that the future Yuanjie asked them to go up to the ancient god realm first to wait for him, Li Tiansha agreed without hesitation. She has always been a good girl who listens to Brother Ji. Seeing the four women, holding hands and running to the side and whispering. Yuanjie and Yuanshan were also walking and chatting in the dilapidated palace square. What is your strength now, Emperor Venerable Realm 99? Yuanshan smiled. He shook his head and said, I don't understand, just say how strong it is. No, when you go up, you'll know how strong it is. Yuanshan suddenly blocked in front of him, looked at the future Yuanjie seriously and said, since you have all returned from the future, why don't you directly take us to find the current you? Future Yuanjie said with a complicated face, there are some things that he must experience. Isn't it a pity? Then you are now capable, why not change? Forget it. It's all gone. In fact, it is not that he does not want to, but that he simply cannot do anything, and he has tried many methods later, without exception, all failed. Yuanshan also thought that the other party was worried about cause and effect, so he did not plan to interfere. Future Yuanjie thought for a while and said, Grandpa, I think you better follow. Why? After you go up, remember to be careful of the second master. Who is the second master? You'll know later. Anyway, listen to me, you can't go wrong. Good. Yuanjie made a shadow avatar, and then said, Grandpa, you reproduce. According to your current cultivation, it should not be a problem to maintain a shadow avatar for 100 years. Only then did Yuanshan notice the change in the spiritual power pool in his body. For 100,000 years, he has not given up his cultivation. Even if he dies, he will turn into Ghost King and pull those 9 families to hell. Now, it's time to harvest. Good. Yuanshan's trickster demon pupils flickered, and beside him, there stood a person exactly like him. Before Yuanshan left, he couldn't figure it out. Since the future grandson is so much stronger than him, why not leave his own shadow doppelganger down? Future Yuanjie and future Yuanqi and Ayu hugged a little. Dad, I'm going up. You wait for me to go back in the future. Remember, let Daoshan's little brother deal with cause and effect. Good, I see. Listen to me, he will definitely thank you. Future Yuanjie nodded. He watched his past family leave through the teleportation array of the Yuan family ancestral land buried at the bottom of the sea. And since then he has left this land Xing who has left many good memories. He flew out of the sea, turned off the infinite moon reading, and peace returned to heaven and earth. He came to a small mountain village between Ganghwa City and Liusua City. It is some distance from Sharingan City, so it has not suffered damage. He was stationed in the yard, for a long time. There was a woman, leaning down, quietly pruning flowers and plants, smiling from time to time, probably thinking of something happy. She didn't seem to know that Sharingan City, which was not far away, had just experienced a catastrophe. Perhaps Lu Shan will be restrained and does not want more people to discover the things under the heavenly gods. Or maybe it was Heaven's Deo who made a move and blocked all the breath. A man and a woman stood in the same courtyard, but the woman did not notice his presence. Because, he is a god, and she is only a mortal. Future Yuanji's eyes are complicated, with regret, with sadness. Finally, as the woman left with a bamboo basket on her back, there was a sigh that turned into a little starlight and dissipated. Now it is the cold winter moon, a petite and cute woman, carrying a bamboo basket to the mountain as usual to collect medicine. This is her living habit that she has developed for many years. Since she was a child, taking medicine has become her living habit, and it has not changed for so many years. In the vast sea of snow, only a few birch trees stood there strongly. Liv stepped on the wasteless snow and came to a place with a light car. She took off the back basket and took out the shovel inside. What she is going to collect today is an herb called Kanghei snowshoots, which is said to prolong life and probably sell for a good price. Although she is not short of money now. She enjoys the process of making money very much, maybe she is used to playing small. Today's snow was heavy, and it didn't take long for her to turn her head white. However, Liv didn't care at all. Her pretty face was frozen red. She shrunk, let out a small sigh, and continued to work. Suddenly, a shovel went down, but a hard object was dug up. When she cleared the snow little by little, a bare foot appeared in front of her. Ugh! Liv threw away the shovel in fear. She had never experienced this kind of thing, digging herbs and actually digging up a corpse. She ran away in a panic, but soon stopped again. What if it's a nearby villager? You have to see who it is. So Liv returned to the same place, forced herself to resist her fear, and cleared the snow that had fallen on the man little by little. When the corpse revealed her true face, she suddenly covered her red lips that were frozen and cracked, her eyes widened, and she couldn't speak for a long time in disbelief. Brother J. Quotation mark. Chapter 373. Liv blushed sharply. She saw that Yuanjie was frozen. She put her head on his chest. Fortunately, there was still a heartbeat. But the question is, how can she, a 5-foot weak woman, 155 cm, carry an 8-foot man, 189 cm? Is there anyone? She called out loudly, her voice gradually choking. The snow, falling heavier and heavier, her whole person was shrouded in ice and snow. Worried that Brother J would get cold, Liv took off her coat and covered him. And she wore a thin lining. First went everywhere to collect the branches that fell to the ground, and then dug out a few vines. She simply made a cart. She gritted her teeth, and it took all her strength to move Yuanjie up. Liv raised her head and looked at the dark goose-feathered snow. She was fierce, tied the vine to her shoulders, step by step, dragging it forward with difficulty. Brother G, you must not be fine. Hold on a little longer, and you'll be home soon. The vine was thorny and quickly stained the clothes on her body red, but she didn't care. She cared about Yuanjie. Even if she left him in the ice and snow for a minute, she would be distressed. Although she didn't know why Yuanjie, who had always been high, suddenly appeared here. But she remembered the smell of him. All was remembered. She was extremely sure that the man lying behind her was him. It must be him. Even though he is now and never recovers to be strong, he has lost a full circle of weight than the last time we met. Even the clothes on the whole body were stained with blood. However, in just 10 kilometers, Liv staggered for a day and a night, with strong winds and snow. When Liv was about to lose her support, she recalled the good times with Yuanjie in the past. When I was 13 years old, I once accidentally fell into the water while taking medicine, and I struggled desperately, but I fell deeper and deeper, and when I was confused, a boy jumped into the water and rescued me ashore. After a while, I coughed violently and vomited the water, and when I opened my eyes blankly, I saw a boy with his hands pressed against my chest. He blushed and explained, "I'm sorry, in an emergency, don't get me wrong, I'm an emergency rescue." I remember that my face was really hot at that time, and I shrunk to the side and covered my chest, secretly looking at him in shame. It was obviously he who lightened me, but why? I couldn't hate it at all. The purple sun fell, and the setting sun shone on the side of his face. The sunset is beautiful, and he, too, is good-looking. I began to pay silent attention to the boy, knowing that his home was near my home, and knowing his name, Yuanjie. Later, I always liked to sneak up behind him, but I was too stupid and soon he found out. Fortunately, he didn't care, and warmly invited me to join him. He picks up garbage and I take bags. He bent his bow and shot arrows to hunt, and I ran over to get the loot. He jumped into the river to fish, and I couldn't do anything, so I squatted stupidly on the shore and guarded the bamboo basket. Sometimes, he would climb to the edge of a cliff to help me collect medicine despite the danger. There are many herbs that I don't know, but he knows and can even accurately describe the medicinal effect. Every time I went out with him, my back basket was always full of baskets, and he would give me half of the game he had worked so hard to hunt. In my eyes, he is hardworking and brave. He can do anything. And he's the most powerful person I have ever met. Being with him was my happiest time, and fortunately he didn't dislike me for being stupid. Xiaofu, give, Brother G, this flower is so beautiful. What's its name? I held it tightly in my hand and looked at the 5-petal purple flower and couldn't put it down. Forget me, huh? I said, the name of this flower is Forget Me. I lowered my head and whispered, it sounded so nice. When I was 15 years old, I followed my grandmother to his house for the first time. After entering the door, my grandmother and I were shocked. Don't see him living in a small villa. In fact, the family has 4 walls. There's nothing in the real sense, not even a decent furniture. He talked to me a lot that night, for 2 hours, and it was all the time he was talking and I was listening. He said many, many things I had never heard of, such as saying that every star in the sky has its own home, and their home is called a constellation. He also asked me about my birthday, and I told him that I was born on April 28th. He smiled, then you are Taurus, and I am Sagittarius, and the horoscope books say that we do not agree. At that time, I didn't know how to be sad. Am I not worthy of your good Taurus? He's not like me, he's a very talkative boy. At that time, suddenly a crazy idea appeared in my head. If I were with him, life would be fun, right? Thinking about it, I laughed. Before leaving, I accidentally fell on my foot when I went down the stairs, And when I saw that I was about to fall, it was he who pulled me from behind, and that was the first time we hugged. His arms were so warm, and the smell on his body was good. At that time, my heart was beating fast, but shy. I gently pushed him away without arguing. I happily returned home with a forget-me-not that I had picked from his yard, only to see my grandmother standing in the doorway with a cold face. In the future, you are not allowed to have contact with that Yuanjie anymore. You know why? Know why? He is too poor. If you are with him, you will suffer in the future. I'm not afraid of hardship, but, Grandma, I'm afraid. Liv's parents were poor, so the family suffered all their lives, and Grandma didn't want her granddaughter to repeat the same mistake. Later, my grandmother locked my home to prevent the two of us from having contact again. Over time, I became more and more distant from him. The person who ran after him was no longer me, but a little girl named Li Tiansha. I went to private school at the age of 16, and we were lucky to be in the same class, and I always liked to look at him secretly, but I didn't dare to show my heart. Grandma didn't allow us to be together, and I only had to look at him secretly where she couldn't see. Finally, the day before I awakened my physique, I plucked up the courage to write several love letters and bothered Li Tiansha to hand them to him. When I saw him awaken his SSS-level physique, I rushed over to congratulate him. However, when we met our eyes, his eyes were full of strangeness, as if he had changed into a person. Doesn't he remember me? Or did he never remember me? So why give me the forget-me-not? Do time and distance really change a person? That night, I hid under the covers and cried for a long time. I finally realized the difference between the two people. He was the light of heaven, radiant, and I was just a sunflower on the ground that no one cared about. She could follow him and smile forever, but she didn't dare to hope for it, and his warmth was only given to her. At night, Liv dragged Yuanjie into a cave. The snow stopped, but a cold wind blew. At the mouth of the cave, which was not too big, a cold wind froze her to the point of trembling. Liv shrunk, wearing only a thin liner on her body. She was worried that he was cold, so she lay on his body to warm him, and she left the cold to her back. Good night, Brother J, she smiled sweetly. This time, it was finally not in a dream. Chapter 374. Brother G, don't. Yuanjie pulled the quilt over his head and buried it. Let me sleep a little longer. Chapter 1 Reincarnation. The other party's voice seemed to disappear, and Yuanjie put down the quilt, only to see a petite and cute woman holding a bowl of soup medicine in both hands. But why did she cry? Brother G, you're finally awake. Liv put down the soup and rushed over and hugged him. Yuanjie was at a loss. He rubbed his head, feeling a headache and couldn't think of anything. He looked around and found that the surrounding environment had changed greatly. It is no longer a modern building with high-rise buildings, but has become a thatched hut. Brother G was confused. Did I cross over? He struggled to get up, and suddenly there was an indescribable pain in his body. You, what's your name? The petite and cute woman's expression was stunned, and her eyes suddenly lost their radiance, but soon she smiled again, and her big eyes smiled into a crescent moon. My name is Liv. Brother G quickly stretched out his hand and shook it to the other party a little. Hello, my name is Yuanjie. It's a pleasure to meet you. Liv smiled sweetly. In fact, we had known each other for a long time. Yuanjie, under the help of Liv, endured the pain and got up. He came to the courtyard. His eyes were full of 5-petal purple flowers. He felt a little familiar, but he couldn't say the name. These flowers have a nice name. It's called Forget-Me-Not. Seeing his confused look, Liv opened his mouth to introduce. So it is, no wonder it is a little familiar. It seems that you're seeking like this kind of flower the most when he was alive. Wait, why do I say it seems to be? Yuanjie tried hard to remember everything in his previous life, but found that those good and bad memories were moving away. Nope. Don't go. He covered his head in pain. Liv patted him on the back anxiously and distressedly, not knowing how to comfort him. After a while, Yuanjie opened his eyes again blankly, and he eagerly grabbed Liv's shoulder and asked, Here, where's it? This is Lanxing, the Sharingan dynasty you founded, and we are now near Jianghu City. I founded it. Yuanjie frowned. Then why didn't he remember anything at all? It stands to reason that the establishment of an imperial dynasty is a very grand thing, and it is impossible to forget it. Are you sure it's me? Didn't I just come into the world? Hearing Yuanjie's questioning, Liv opened his mouth, but finally did not say it. Look at this, Brother G, amnesia. It's good that I have amnesia, so that I have a chance to be by his side. Yuanjie finally determined that he really crossed over. Before he crossed over, he should have fallen to his death. There is no reason to bring the injury of jumping off the building to the other world. Isn't that nonsense? He doesn't dare to recall the events of his previous life now. As long as he thinks about it, he doesn't know why. The faster the memory will be lost. It's like sand in your hand. The tighter you hold it, the faster it flows. Yuanjie looked at life beside him curiously. He could feel that the other party seemed to care about him. What was going on? Shouldn't you have done something excessive to people last night? Can you introduce me to the world? At this moment, Yuanjie, facing the unfamiliar environment in front of him, was dumbfounded. Liv helped him back to the bed and said softly, "You heal your wounds first. Well, drink medicine first." She picked up the soup medicine on the bedside table, and Yuanjie looked at this green medicinal juice, and suddenly turned white with fright. It's bad, this little nizzy. Should it be for wealth and murder? It won't just cross into a new world and immediately stage a tragedy of Dalang taking medicine. I don't drink. I think it's okay. Liv lowered her head sadly and silently took the soup out of it. Yuanjie noticed that her walking posture was limping, and his face became strange. This plot. It won't be that he crossed into another world, became a notorious poor scholar, and then borrowed money to marry a wife, but he didn't expect that the money was robbed halfway, so he had to buy a poor little cripple halfway to top up. Cold little sweet wife? No, how did the injuries on his body come from? He endured the pain and got out of bed again. He climbed on the chair, sat in front of the dresser, and looked at himself in the copper mirror. With a face of vicissitudes, a scumbag sigh, except for a pair of black and white eyes shining, it is difficult to say a word elsewhere. He was 30 years old before crossing, and now he is also 30 years old, which is very outrageous. Is there such a crossing? Shouldn't it be crossing over to 18? Then there is a system, awakening the anti-heavenly physique, God blocking and killing God, Buddha blocking and killing Buddha, and finally standing on the top of the world? System, he kept calling in his heart, but he never moved. He shook his head with a wry smile. It seems that I don't have a system, and there is a high probability that I will not have an anti-heavenly physique. He gradually accepted the status quo, and in his previous life he succeeded his fiancée as vice president of a large trading company. He didn't believe it. Even if he didn't have a plug-in, he should be able to live well in this new world. Liv huddled outside the door crying secretly. The injury on her leg was run back to Jiangho's small house a few days ago, and because of her impatience, she was accidentally crushed by the carriage and broke her leg. A month ago, she finally pulled Yuanjie home with great difficulty, but his injury was too serious. So, she searched all the famous doctors in Jiangho City to treat him. The woman who used to buy a green vegetable had to worry about it, in front of Yuanjie, lost her bottom line. No matter how much it costs, she will cure him. However, she had already squandered the family's resources, and Brother G never improved. Liv suddenly remembered that the night Jackie first came to her house for dinner, he had left 10 bottles of recovery potion for her. Chapter 276, it's just that she has never been willing to use it, because it is something he sent, and she must treasure it well. But now the situation is urgent, and I can't take care of that. She ran all the way home, did not look at the traffic when crossing the road, and was accidentally knocked down and crushed by the carriage. Enduring the pain, she dragged her twisted left leg back home, bringing back the 10 bottles of recovery potion. She was reluctant to give her broken leg to use, and gave it all to Yuanjie to drink. The effect of the recovery potion was indeed good, and within a few days, his wounds recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and after 3 days, he finally woke up. However, this last bowl of medicine, he did not want to drink. Liv looked down and sobbed sadly. Yuanjie held the door frame at this time and said, "What about the medicine?" Liv broke into a smile. She looked up with joy on her face, but when she picked up the bowl, she accidentally spilled it, just spilling it on her broken leg. "Yes, I'm sorry, I'm so stupid." Seeing her cute appearance, Yuanjie couldn't help but feel warm, and he took the soup medicine and drank it. "This tastes, how did it seem like I had drunk it before? And drink a lot of looks?" However, he didn't think much about it. He should have drunk too much when he was sick, and there was still an impression in his mouth. At this time, a large circle of people outside the door suddenly knelt down towards the east. They couldn't cry, their bodies couldn't stop trembling, and they howled one by one. Emperor Yuan died. He sacrificed his life to resurrect us. Chapter 375. Yuanjie walked out of the courtyard curiously, and he looked in the direction where they were kneeling. In the sky, there is a coffin pulled up by 9 behemoths, slowly flying, and everywhere they go, the common people there consciously kneel on the ground to mourn. When Yuanjie returned to the courtyard, he asked Liv, "What is the sacred Emperor Yuan they worship?" Liv's expression was unnatural. She was hesitating. She was fighting with ideas. Should she tell them the truth? In fact, your Yuan Emperor is not dead. He just had amnesia. However, the current Yuanjie is far from the previous Yuanjie. Even if he says it, no one will believe it, right? But conscience told her that she had to announce the news to the world. So, Liv ignored Yuanjie. She ran straight out of the courtyard. She shouted anxiously, "Don't kneel, everyone. In fact, Yuan Oong is not dead, he's alive." Unexpectedly, no one believed her words. Because, they watched with their own eyes as Emperor Yuan sacrificed his life in exchange for the resurrection of the entire Langsing people. They saw with their own eyes that under a round of blood moon, Emperor Yuan pierced his body with a long sword, allowing the essence blood to flow out, and when he was about to die, he performed the great god power reincarnation in a technique, and then they were shocked to find that they were no longer in a spirit state, but had returned to this world, and they were resurrected. You're lying. The Yuan Emperor has died, we have seen it with our own eyes. That's right, don't want any cats and dogs to come over and rub the heat of the Yuan Emperor, you don't deserve it. Although Yuanjie didn't understand what was happening, he didn't know why Liv was so excited. He ran out of the yard and protected her. After everyone saw Yuanjie's appearance, they suddenly fell into trance, and then thought about it. It was just a flower that looked similar. Their beloved Emperor Yuan has left them forever. Liv, what's wrong with you? Yuanjie asked with concern. It's okay, Liv's mood is complicated now. She doesn't want Brother Jade to remember the past, and she doesn't want him to waste time by her side. He deserves, with a better future. He is the one who does great things and should not be bound by her. In the evening, Liv made a table of good dishes, and she used the few copper spirit coins to buy a kunba chicken and came back, thinking of replenishing Brother Ji's body. Brother Ji, eat, good. Yuanjie took a piece of chicken and put it in his mouth, and a faint aroma of herbs poured into his mouth, and he was stunned. This taste, so familiar, seems to have been eaten where? However, the more he tried to remember, the more his brain hurt, as if he had been forcibly deprived by something. Brother Ji, what's wrong with you? Liv saw him cover his head and scream in pain again, and she hurriedly put down the bowl and chopsticks and stepped forward to hug him. After a while, Yuanjie Feng recovered. A wisp of fragrance wafted from the tip of his nose, the smell of Liv, and this aroma calmed his consciousness. I'm okay. He raised his head and looked at each other, their faces so close that they could even smell each other's snorts. Liv blushed shyly and got up unnaturally. She twisted the ends of her hair in a panic, not daring to look at him. The meals you cooked, they were delicious. This smell is really chic. Yuanjie praised appropriately, which made her feel furious. Liv couldn't help but remember that when Brother Jay first went to her house, he also praised her like this. Only this time, it shouldn't go, right? Since he likes to eat the dishes I make, then I am willing to cook for him for the rest of his life. It was late at night. Since this thatched hut had always been occupied by Liv alone, there was only one room, one living room and one bed. Some time ago, when Yuanjie was injured and sick in bed, she basically crouched by the bed to rest. But now that he has woken up, what should he do with sleeping? Brother G, go to bed. What about you? I'll just deal with it casually. Liv hugged a pillow and sat on the sofa in the living room. Yuanjie felt very embarrassed. This is someone's house, but also people's bed. How can the owner lie on the sofa and sleep on the bed? So, he went out and snatched the pillow over. You go back to bed, I'll come here. Huh? Oh what? Go ahead. But, there's nothing to be. Yuanjie's undoubted tone made Liv's heart rise with a warmth. In this case, she tiptoed to bed. It's just that now it's a cold winter moon, the cold wind is howling, and Yuanjie, who slept on the sofa, was frozen awake in the middle of the night and sneezed. Liv opened her eyes, and her voice came from the room. How about we sleep together? When she said this, her face was so red. Yuanjie thought about it and walked in. He stood by the bed and stared at Liv shakily. What is the relationship? Can you tell me? He was afraid, crossed over, two people are brothers and sisters or siblings, and then slept together, and something happened that shouldn't have happened, and that would be funny. Liv dodged his gaze, her big eyes flashing in the darkness, and she looked nervous. Are we a family, huh? I mean, are we brothers and sisters or brothers and sisters? Nope. No. When Liv heard this, he knew that he had misunderstood, and hurriedly shook his head. So, are we husband and wife? Yuanjie's words made Liv lose the ability to think. Are we husband and wife? Can we be husband and wife? Will we be husband and wife? After she regained consciousness, she found that Yuanjie had returned to the living room. He huddled on the sofa, his body trembling with cold. She was distressed, and directly from the room, she reported the quilt and covered him. And she herself added a few more clothes, rubbed her little feet, and lay back on the bed. A ray of sunlight shone in from the wooden window, a little dazzling, and Yuanjie opened his eyelids with difficulty. He found that the quilt was on his body and that Liv was long gone from the house. He carried the quilt back to the bed and returned to the living room, where he found a note on the table. Brother G, I went to the pharmacy in the city, and there were more than a dozen buns in the pot, as well as hot porridge. Due to the fact that the cure had spent her savings for several years, there were enough 10,000 gold spirit coins, and she had to go back and continue to sell medicinal herbs. Yuanjie silently lifted the lid of the pot and found that there were 15 vegetable buns lying quietly inside. He took a bite, and tears suddenly flowed by themselves. He touched the corners of his eyes blankly, still wondering why he suddenly cried. After eating, he picked up a firewood knife in the courtyard and silently walked towards the deep mountains. In the evening, Liv ended her day of opening a shop. And she happily returned home with a few pieces of fat and thin animal meat in her hand, and a new quilt dragged behind her. When she came home, she was dumbfounded by the sudden addition of a wooden bed in the room. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.